You're listening to WZYE 95.9 FM. You are listening to WZYE 95.9 FM. The most influential name in Caribbean radio in the tri-state area. Broadcasting from East Orange, New Jersey. The most influential name in Caribbean radio. WZYE 95.9 FM.
This way. sides. We don't know who to trust. That's why I say, Lord, please listen to this prayer that comes from the Lord. Please send us another Moses again. Oh, we just can't go on this way. Please deliver us today. Time to make them oppress us pay. So the children could see their way. Make them get on their knees and pray. Let us be up to judgment day. Just can't make it this way. Please deliver us today. We like the Israelites didn't pay. Please send us another Moses again. Lord, we just can't make it this way. Yes, deliver us today. Oh, we just can't go on this way. No, we just can't make it this way. Please listen to what I say. Yes, hurry up with judgment day. We just can't make it this way. No, we just can't make it this way. Must we get old and gray? And the children can't see their way. Oh, we just can't make it this way. Oh, we just can't make it this way. We like the Israelites didn't pay. Please send us another Jesus again. Oh, 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 oh. Oh, 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 oh. Oh, 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 oh. Lord, we just can't go this way. Lord, we just can't make it this way. No, we just can't go this
I say you get up one morning, your elders have something. You don't know how they get it, but you want to use it. But if you ask them old people to get the things what they went through, ask them this any day, and your parents sure to say, black man have to keep on jamming, for black man to get a little something. Make up your mind, brother, that you're able to get a pulley and jam with the devil. Why? Black man have to keep on jamming, for black man to get a little something. Make up your mind, brother, that you're ready to swim offshore and hold your boat steady. Black man have to keep on jamming, for black man to get a little something. So when you're here, you get a little something. With that dragon eye, you keep watching, because I don't tell you already. Black man do get nothing easy. I say you get up one morning, and oil money running. How it come you don't know, so that it can how the thing go. But if they read about Uriah, they wanna find out the pressure. How we get so much old hell to get a penny from TLL. Black man have to keep on jamming, but black man to get a little something. You got to take up your own cash for your own refinery. Black man have to keep on jamming. For black man to get a little something. Make up your mind to be a magician, to make money out of scrap iron. Black man have to keep on jamming. For black man to get a little something. So when you hear you get a little something, with that eagle eye you keep watching, because I don't tell you already. Black man don't get nothing easy. We got up one morning, independence happening, getting the thing come easy. Now they're taking liberty, but if they know about petition, we are to send to England for some woman to tell we in this colony free. Black man have to keep on jabbing, for black man to get a little something. You got to go to conference in England to get independence in your own land. Black man have to keep on jamming, for black man to get a little something. People hold you, humiliate you, turn on and sell you, and then they free you. Black man have to keep on jamming, for black man to get a little something. So when you hear you get a little something, with that dragon eye you keep watching, because I don't tell you already. Black man don't get nothing easy. So when a black man gets something, he got to start thinking to get it there easy. He got to practice economy, from getting licks from the slave master to become the land owner. Brother, is a terrible journey, back with plenty brutality. Black man have to keep on jamming, for black man to get a little something. You got to rise up, you got to stand up, pick up your mind, you will always stay on top. Black man have to keep on jamming, for black man to get a little something. You got to go to conference in England to get independence in your own land. Black man have to keep on jamming, for black man to get a little something. You got to take up your own cash money, pay people for your own refinery. Black man have to keep on jamming, for black man to get a little something. Make up your mind to be a magician, to make money out of scrap iron. Black man have to keep on jamming, for black man to get a little something. You got to go to...
Keep me as the apple of thine eye, hide me under the shadow of thy wing, O Lord, my Savior. It's so hard to deal with personal struggle. It's so sad when you feel alone in your trouble. It's real hard when you want to talk to a brother. It's so bad because of how some look at you after. So Jesus, come and be while you fix it. Come and be while you fix it. Come and be while you fix it. Jesus, come and be. Come and be while you fix it. Come and be while you fix it. Come and be while you fix it. Jesus, come and be. Cover my head. Satan want me dead. Cover my back from human attack. So Jesus, come and be while you fix it. Come and be while you fix it. Jesus, come and be while you fix it. Jesus, come and be. People see you smile, but don't know the hurt that you're feeling. Even as God's child, at times your heart does be bleeding. Where can you go when you're really looking for healing? Who know how to flow when your soul needs some restoring? So Jesus, come and be while you fix it. Come and be while you fix it. Come and be while you fix it. Jesus, come and be. Come and be while you fix it. Come and be while you fix it. Come and be while you fix it. Jesus, come and be. Cover me home from evils unknown. Cover my feet so I'll never retreat. Oh Lord, come and be while you fix it. Come and be while you fix it. Come and be while you fix it. Jesus, come and be. sister, them who under pressure. Cover, 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 cover the preacher, every church worker, the young believer. Cover, 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 the worship leader and intercessor, every gospel minister. Cover, cover, cover. Jesus alone is the one who have the real answer. The one on the throne is the true and loving Father. He will hold your hand and keep you from going under. He will make you stand and let you know he's a fixer. Cover me while you fix it. Cover me while you fix it. Jesus, cover me while you fix it. Jesus, cover me. Cover me while you fix it. Cover me while you fix it. Jesus, cover me while you fix it. Jesus, cover me. Cover me, man. You know the struggle sometimes. Cover me mouth, that the wrong thing wouldn't come out. Oh Lord, cover me while you fix it. Cover me while you fix it. Cover me while you fix it. Jesus, cover me. Cover the Christian in the midst of aggression with the power of your right hand. Jesus, cover, cover, cover them helpless children. Jesus, defend them. Send help from heaven. Jesus, cover, cover, cover all them radio stations that blessing the nation. Grant divine protection. Jesus, cover, 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 cover me, cover me, cover me.
Truer words were never spoken. The less you associate with some people, the more your life will improve. Anytime you tolerate mediocrity in others, it increases your mediocrity. An important attribute in successful people is their impatience with negative thinking and negative acting people. As you grow, your associates will change. Some of your friends will not want you to go on. They will want you to stay where they are. Friends that don't help you climb will want you to crawl. Your friends will stretch your vision or choke your dream. Those that don't increase you will eventually decrease you. Consider this. Never receive counsel from unproductive people. Never discuss your problems with someone incapable of contributing to the solution, because those who never succeed themselves are always first to tell you how. Not everyone has a right to speak into your life. You are certain to get the worst of the bargain when you exchange ideas with the wrong person. Don't follow anyone who's not going anywhere. With some people you spend an evening. With others, you invest it. Be careful where you stop to inquire for directions along the road of life. Wise is the person who fortifies his life with the right friendships. If you run with wolves, you will learn how to howl. But if you associate with eagles, you will learn how to soar to great heights. A mirror reflects a man's face, but what he is really like is shown by the kind of friends he chooses. The simple but true fact of life is that you become like those with whom you closely associate, for the good and the bad. Note, be not mistaken. This is applicable to family as well as friends. Yes, do love, appreciate, and be thankful for your family, for they will always be your family, no matter what. Just know that they are human first, and though they are family to you, they may be a friend to someone else and will fit somewhere in the criteria above. In prosperity, our friends know us. In adversity, we know our friends. Never make someone a priority when you are only an option for them. If you are going to achieve excellence in big things, you develop the habit in little matters. Excellence is not an exception. It is a prevailing attitude.
Yes, 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 yes. Let me say a special hello to all the WZYE 95.9 FM listeners. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, it's In the Village with Uncle Tommy, Professor Wall Street, and you on WZYE 95.9 FM. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, as you know, we come to you every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday from 7 to 10 p.m. That's Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday from 7 to 10 p.m. And you know, folks, as you get in, share the live, WZYE 95.9 FM on Facebook. Subscribe, WZYE TV and YouTube. And you can reach us here at 973-868-1444. That's 973-868-1444. And you know, we always say, ladies and gentlemen, doesn't matter what color t-shirt you have on a pink t-shirt, a maroon t-shirt, a burgundy t-shirt, each and everyone is welcome in the village. And as you know, we always say, we originate, we don't imitate, we bring you the facts, the whole facts, and nothing but the facts. And this is how we start the thing.
It have our place, WZYE, where they treat you like friends and family. So if you're looking for a place to belong, going WZYE, you could come along. If you have haste, though, come with me. We do have dad on WZYE, Santa Meditate.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The man himself, call him Dr. Loveboy, Rennie Muhammad. By the way, Caribbean Soul did something for us. It was pretty good, but he had to do a little edit. Just a little edit. You know? He did a splendiferous job. So, folks, if you want to try your hand at doing a little something for WZYE, you know, you take a look at it and see what's going on. You know what I mean? We ain't biased. You know, as you say that, we ain't biased. Yeah? So, folks, we say we originate, we don't imitate, we mean it. And we put that in words to you, the people, that we truly mean what we say. Take a look.
Anselm LeBon and Marshall Nesbitt solemnly swear to conduct this radio program in a true, fair, and balanced manner, ensuring that all perspectives are given equal consideration and that the information presented is objective and unbiased. We pledge to provide a platform where diverse voices can be heard, fostering open and constructive dialogue that serves the best interests of our audience and community. Our commitment is to uphold the principles of journalistic integrity and ethical broadcasting throughout the duration of this program. Thank you.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. We say to you, we'll bring you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Let me bring in my pal, the man himself, the one and only boy, Uncle Tommy. Tommy, how you going?
Splendiferous. And how are you?
I can't complain, man. Today is a fantabulous day.
Yes, indeed. Nothing but the truth, the whole truth.
There you have it, Tommy. Nothing but the truth, boy. Tommy, them people missed you yesterday, boy.
I miss them too.
They asking me, wait, Tommy. I said, all you relax now, man. You know what I mean? Tommy have things to do. You have places to go, things to see, things to do.
No doubt.
Yeah, you have plenty going on, you know. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
You know, but we held it down for you. You know.
Well, I thank you. I know you're capable. So.
Yeah. It was pretty good. I can't complain.
No
you know
worry.
what I mean? You know, when you're dealing with them, when you deal with them PNM people and them, you understand? But you know what I mean? You have to deal with them because they're part of Trinidad and Tobago.
Well,
you know,
it takes one to know one. You were Trinidad and Tobago, and you were PNM also.
Correct is right. Let me take this call. Mr. Intellectual, welcome. Mr. Intellectual, inside. Bless evening.
Hey, good to hear you.
Yeah, go ahead. We're hearing you.
Volume slow though.
I telling Uncle T, welcome back, man. You missed him yesterday, but
yeah. I'm not telling him. I just telling him that.
I just mentioned it today. Yeah, that's not. Let me raise a little something here this evening.
Go ahead.
I decided to come in and raise a little issue there.
Okay.
I went to a little session yesterday with a good friend of mine. He invited me to his garden. He have bees and stuff like that and thing.
Right.
So we had to go to get into some hives and things that they kind of died out and stuff like that. And then so you wanted to retrieve the boxes and things.
Mm.
But the sad part about it is it had some blossoming balize. And he told me, well, boy, we had to go through there and, well, you got to cut down all them things. You got to cut in to make a tractor go down inside it. So
Mm.
I had pleasure yesterday. Some flowering balize. Boy, we rest some blade on them thing, boy. If you see how they fall down. But you know, afterwards I sit down on the ground there after we done do all this stuff and everything, and I thinking, I wonder if there's something prophetic, boy. For you to get to the bees and the good stuff.
You gotta cut down the balize.
You have to clear with the balize, boy.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
just come into my head, you know. So I say, well, I'm gonna raise that this evening to see if anybody could understand whether or not it is really a prophetic thing that happened, or if that was just a coincidence now, boy. That we had to chop down the balize to get to the good stuff.
Nah, that was not coincidence, man. Things do happen just so.
So you believe it could be a prophetic kind of
Yeah,
something?
yeah. Correct. Think about it, right? You going to get something, and you have to get rid of something to get that, and that something is better than what you get rid of. That had to be prophetic, man.
Yeah, well, that passed through my mind, you know. But I say I have to tell all of that to him because watch me. When I come home yesterday, I tell myself, I'm sorry, boy. I'm sorry that they have a program on a Wednesday too because and I'm going to tell them at one time. I say, I mean, I had to wait until tomorrow.
You couldn't hold it. You couldn't hold it.
No, I couldn't hold it. That's why I called in one time. I say, I had to tell all of this thing, boy.
Nah, that prophetic, man. That prophetic.
You should have taken out your phone and make a video.
Right?
Yeah, you should have
really
make a
had
video, Mr. Intellectual, man. You should have make a little video.
Listen, when you're dealing with bees and things,
Oh, I know what you mean.
Time to pull out.
Yeah.
You don't have time to pull out phone and all that kind of thing because you know you have to have your smoke in your hand and you hang around and you know when you're in a learning process too.
Yeah.
You understand? You want to absorb almost everything that you're getting involved in.
Yeah. Understand. Mm-hmm.
So it was an enlightening experience for me yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed myself.
What part? What part of the country that was? What part of the country?
Up Manzalana side, just before you head into the beach.
Yeah.
They have some agricultural land a little lower down. I think it's Manzalana North, somewhere around there. You know? More Kaiwal side than proper Manzan side now. Okay. But it's in Manzalana area.
Oh, it's close to the main road.
And cool, nice. Forested areas and things. Real, some places cultivated, some in so cultivated and thing, but real nice place. If you see the calming effect it has have on you when you hear you pass through them areas and I enjoy myself. For the past couple of days. I in the bush and I seeing stuff and things like that and thing.
I nature, man. Nature, you're in nature. You're in nature, man.
And you're getting some physical exercise too, eh?
Yeah, you can ask some more than that.
Yeah, it was really good. I enjoyed myself yesterday. But the best part about it was chopping and baliza and them. If it's show them flowers and them fall. You know another thing that runs through my mind? It have any thing profitable about baliza growing baliza? Did I see the flowers or did I see the plant or anything like that? You know anything about it?
Nah, I know nothing about that.
So there's only make juice with it then?
Yeah, only for people to drink. They don't make no food on that. No, they just have to drink it. That is it.
But they squeeze the flowers or something like that?
I don't even know what they do. Maybe they'll preserve it. And get it strong.
Well.
You gotta get them it strong. Preserve it. So they could get it strong. When they get it strong, so it's different, you know.
But the honest thing, I didn't know anybody who wanted Balize flowers now, boy. I was telling them, I said, we could have sell that, them for that just so much election. I think we could have sell them flowers on them.
No, them have no money to buy that. You had to get that. You had to get it with free.
It was just a thought. It was just a thought.
No, you had to get it with free. Free. You understand?
We chopped down some good Balize yesterday. It was nice. It was nice.
Bless.
Anyhow, welcome back.
All right, man.
We missed it yesterday. Have a blessed evening, gentlemen.
Yeah, man.
You too.
On the chat again.
All right, cool.
Later.
Yeah.
Lessons.
Yeah, man. All the time. Man, see, chop down some Balize. Tommy, boy.
Hey.
Balize, boy. Mr. Florida, welcome. Mr. Florida, you ever chop down any Balize?
We know where to find Balize. I had to go up in tongue to find Balize.
But listen to this now. As you say that, when I was in St. Lucian in the hotel, what I see they have as an ornament in the middle of the table, a Balize. I say, well, them people are saying, no, the Balize, boy. I may know what that. They may know the meaning of that Balize.
We just like the red color. You know what I mean? So I'll never say good evening to you, Mr. Hanslem, Mr. Tommy. Happy to see you again. Good evening to all the callers on the Texas.
Great to be here. Great to be here.
See everybody. Through God's grace. Hey, Mr. Hanif, you're lucky, you know. You cut down that Balize, but you know all the snake was in the PNM house, so you were safe. That snake in that Balize in that bush. But Mr. Hanslem, I called to tell you a joke about the bees, right? So that is man, when I was living in Trinidad, so I used to go and hang out by the shop. So it had some bees was affecting our neighbor, so the man gone to get rid of the bees now. So the man gone light up a fire, man. Well, when he light up the fire, the bees and them started running him down. You see the man running, going down the road, come straight in the shop. You say, rude, boy. You say, them bees are them, boy. Them bees are attacking. So you ask the man in the shop. You say, well, you have cold to drink. Here the man, more bee. But you know the man will run out from the shop.
It's a good one. Morby.
Morby.
Yeah,
Morby. Yeah, you are run out from the shop. Yeah. That's a good one. That's a good one. Tommy? All right, let me get Caribbean Soul a round of applause. I don't think you ever get a round of applause in here. You was the first thing, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. KFC inside. KFC.
Yeah, hello, good night, Mr. Uncle Tommy, man.
What's up?
Okay.
Man, I was watching the politics in Trinidad and Tobago, man. I see that you know the real bone and real broken promises, man.
Well, it's promise after.
Yeah, you want to do now? They do it now, man.
What is that? The houses they're giving out? They're going to build?
We bought it on my phone. Give us 500. Give us some houses yesterday.
Yeah, they give out keys, boy. Keys, boy. Keys to houses. Yeah, keys.
And they said they're building 500 houses for the squatters and them.
Yeah, yeah. Election gimmick.
When they answer that, you see broken promises I give with the PNM?
Promises, boy.
They're real
good, you know. They're
good, man.
They're good, you know.
Oh, they love you so. They take good care of you. They walk in.
KFC. Somebody hacked KFC phone, you know. You know that in WhatsApp. So,
wow.
So the person, KFC call back. So the person who hacked your phone send me a message, right? I say, so you want money, right? He said, nah, I just need a little help. You know? So I asked him, where am I from? Right? He said, Ohio. I tell him, try again. he said, fool, and he gone. They hack KFC phone, WhatsApp.
Wow, they hack him.
Yeah, so folks.
Remember they hacked me once? Remember they hacked me once?
Yeah, please put two-step authentication on your phone, on your WhatsApp phone. Put two-step authentication, eh? They did a few of my family to send me message, boy. Tell me they need money. They hacked Julia Davy phone too. He sent me, ask him where I'm from. He ain't tell me, he couldn't tell me where I'm from. What part of Trinidad I'm from? You understand? When them fellas them send you thing, ask them questions you know they can't answer. So when he tell me the thing with KFC, I ask him, well, tell me where I'm from. He say Ohio. I say, nah, man, you get that wrong. A Caribbean soul is for you. Yeah, Caribbean soul. That's for you, boy. Caribbean soul was first then, yes? You first, boy. Early, Early o'clock, boy. He ain't even pip Volsang, Volsang was, Caribbean soul was 310. Volsang was 425. It's like they're running a race. You know what I mean, Tommy? And Caribbean soul are hour in front. And Volsang come after. Volsang say good afternoon, good evening all. Some people out here real out that time and are well saying I go win this evening. Win? You think it's easy? Win? You can't win just so by. You mean you will get some win? Win, Tommy. Win. You'll get some win. Rennie, good evening, brothers and sisters. Love in the house, boy.
Evening, Rennie.
Panel. Mr. Walls and Mr. Tommy. Yeah, man. Yeah, man, Dr. Love.
Respect, enough respect, Rennie.
Yeah. Election in the air, boy. Bribing and hampers here and there. They go get caught up in the mix. Look out for the politic. Santimani Taylor. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, KFC.
Good night, Mr. What's that, Uncle Tommy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that happened yesterday.
No, listen, today.
That Nigerian them boy.
But listen, about an hour ago, one sent me a message. Hey, on your hack phone, your phone number. Hey, I say, yeah. He sent me a message. He say, I need some help. I say, you need me to send you some money, right? He said, yeah. Send it to so-and-so. I ask him, I say, where am I from? He tell me I'm from Ohio. I tell him, try again. Yeah?
Yeah.
Them fellas ain't easy,
you catch me, boy. You tell you about 6 numbers. Look up on the screen quick. On some people's party. So I ask him some questions and things in there. I tell him whether yesterday I say, girl, yesterday they hack that WhatsApp number because remember do Julia Davy that?
Yeah, they do Julia Davy that too, yeah. But KFC now, this time you have to put 2-step authentication on your WhatsApp. 2-step verification. You have to do that now. Yeah. As soon as you get it, put that on. Tell her put on 2-step verification. You understand? That is the only way you could try and stop them from hacking into your phone. Because it ain't easy. KFC, you're muted. All right, you're muted. All right. So, Dr. Love say election in the air, bribing and hampers here and there. Don't get caught up in the mix. Look out for the politics, anti-humanity. Yeah, man. No, you was muted.
All right, but I'm saying that what you using tonight, you know, that CARICOM thing in Barbados?
Yeah, that's where the Prime Minister is.
Yeah, but they Dr. Early last time to the accent, the leaders in them across the question thinking across the written frame to ask some questions, you need pattern. Now why you hiding so? Why you talk to the media?
Man retire on the job, you know. That's the first Prime Minister retire on the job, you know.
Yeah, and he give that boy there a CFCTC. Dr. Early was a great leader.
Who Hans Devines?
Hans Devines.
Yeah.
He go and fulfill the evilness and the wickedness and oppression where Dr. Early live off and pass over to he.
But But KFC, you know why I just ask myself, boy? How does Dr. Amy Brown them sit down there and take all that abuse, boy? You so long in this thing, and you allow a fella who not even in the PNM all of a sudden he coming and run for a constituency you should be running for.
Yeah, but Mr. Washington,
Uh,
because if short small pen, right?
yeah.
He and Dr. Rowley was buddies. Dr. Rowley all up in the K-Pax, up in Dr. Rowley K-Pax, right?
Mm.
And he watching how Dr. Rowley treat the people and them. We expect if you to come and treat the people any better? We? Yeah, man?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you watching how Dr. Rowley treat the people and them, suffer the people and them, and he pass on the baton to he.
Yeah.
And he look like me and you.
Mm-hmm.
There could be more worse and more dread.
Yeah, and he sit down there and he ain't say nothing.
Lavanti and fully plan, but he had great plans for Lavanti.
Yeah.
And a big belly pass, right? A bell bottom pass and a big dirty t-shirt walking up and down with more presses than them to press popular again. And I tell you, election can make again. Them now, they're breaking down people in them house. It's all once it house all over the place was shit. Vandalizing all over the place. So why didn't people them in the house and make their life more comfortable?
Think it easy.
Why the PM was doing that, boy? And why Papa showing people and telling them go and do something about that thing never materialized that the Uncle Tommy, greatest the PNM, I'm making a shot with good all the time, not me. I have born the PNM. I look so listen.
Yeah, man. Tommy, before I get back to the chat, I want to ask you a question. Hold on, let me take this call. Reporter, welcome.
Yeah, good afternoon, brother. Tommy and Mr. Ward Street.
Yeah,
KFC,
man.
behave yourself.
Good evening. Good evening.
Well, I know coming to Praise God and I see them walking. Most people, it's not Heinz walking, it's the Marcel brother walking there.
Yeah.
And some people walk with him. They say, well, they're under real pressure here with this election. But you know what's the biggest joke in this country right now? A public servant from the UNC trying to put himself across in a next party. He doesn't even use the head and going to one of the third party and then he going to the party that destroy the country and really will create some impact in this country. He will not create no impact in the country because the whole country want to get rid of the PNL. You trying to see if you could tarnish the only opposition by talking like if you want to join the PNL. Let them go and join. You go and join there because when you join there, you just join in a losing team because to the end of the day, the code is yellow. If you want to be a public servant and really get through, you can't say you dropping out of an opposition like with 19 seats towards a political party that did so bad with 21 seats. Everybody waiting right now to just hear the day to demolish them. And you're making news like if you want, you going and talk to the PNM. You could go ahead and do that. I only put this contribution in the mix for the night now start now. Locked on and listening, right?
Yeah, man. Best. Yeah, boy. Let me see. Okay. Mr. Intellectual say, blessed evening, pro Uncle T and all visitors. I see you guys' determination pull through. See, once we set our minds to achieve something, we can. Think about what you desire for TNT. Correct is right. And Mr. Intellectual say, Vol, you have a little way to go. You have to top soul now. Yeah, you have a real way to go. Yeah. I look busy. Busy, welcome. Good day, Uncle Tommy and Wall Street. All listeners locked on. Share the live. Today menu, red beans, rice, and pak choy bhaji. Yeah, I had that. Quote of the day. Many of us don't listen with the intention to understand, but to reply. Yeah, correct. I tell you, boy, Tommy.
He's getting better.
Huh?
He's getting better.
We step up your game, man. Busy step up your game, boy. Or Tommy, before we get too far, I want to send condolences to Ken Bernard family. That is one of the guys who won in the 4x4. Ken Bernard, Edwin Roberts, Wendell Motley, and Skinner. Those were the guys that won a medal for Trinidad in the 4x400, and he passed. Tommy is interested, you know. The man went to Trinidad for Carnival, you know. And he passed in Trinidad.
What happened?
I didn't really say what happened, eh? But they just say, you know, he left us. And me and him was good. We used to go to Pen Relays, and every time we went to Pen Relays, we used to hook up. And it used to be a good one. Yeah. He was a good one. So Tommy, when you weren't here and Bijram was trying to confuffle people and talk about Kalonji, you know what that is?
About Kalonji?
Yeah, Kalonji. You was here when you talked about that?
No, I wasn't.
That was yesterday. No, Tuesday.
You mean Tuesday?
Tuesday. Right? And I tell him, me, you know about that. So, Busy send this video for me. Take a listen to this.
Don't get chained up. I beg of you. Do not get chained.
You go get to that one. So, Tom, we had a big discussion on that one, because you ever had that?
Never.
I never had that.
A lot of people in the chat had it before?
Yeah, them people were talking about it, man. COP calling and telling me I when I come to Trinidad, I have to come and get some cultural food and get some real food in Trinidad. I know nothing. I know I born in Trinidad and I hardly know any type of food. Yeah, like what you was telling me. The boy Tommy boy, to get on my case, boy. How you don't know that? But it's like, I know you wasn't there to help me out. You understand? So,
wow.
I was all by myself. Yeah, Mr. Florida.
So you see it now. So you see how good it has been?
Yeah.
That tastes real good, you know. But you see, you grew up in Chumaka, the only Kalonji you know is Sizzla Kalanji. You know this thing? But it just tastes real good, Mr. Anselm. You can try it when you come to Trinidad. Look on this.
Yeah, man. I just try it when I go to Trinidad. I just try it in
true. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
So Karaini is one of the main components.
Yeah. Move the fender, welcome.
Blessed night, Uncle Tommy, and what shoot.
Blessed night.
Blessed night to you, bro.
You have
Uncle Tommy, and what shoot. You remember when Kamala hold the state of emergency and she locked up 9,000 African men?
Right. Yeah, that
I don't know how Kamala went and locked up 9,000 men, but that would see.
Yeah.
Question. How many people getting locked up right now? How many talking about it?
How much people get locked up?
Yeah, for the state of emergency.
I don't know, how much.
We ain't nobody talking about it.
Okay. They didn't put the numbers yet?
That's my point.
Okay.
You understand?
Yeah.
And next thing, we ain't from Mr. Demorius Fosley at all, boy.
I go call him and see what he doing.
Yeah, give him a call now because I find there's some rumors going around, you know.
Yeah. I'm going to call him now. Let me call him right now.
Yeah. Call him.
I'm going to call Mr. Tabakit. Mr. Tabakit.
I was listening to the Morning Brew. I think they said it's about over 1,000 people who've been locked up already.
1,000?
Over 1,000.
All right. So I call him Tabakit. I feel Tabak quiet, boy.
Or that's how you spell it. Or either 900 or something like that. I don't know. You look at that Morning Brew this morning.
1,000 lock up?
Yeah, about 1,000 people.
How much of them go Lego, boy? How much of them black?
No. That part I have.
All right.
I know.
That one just ringing. You know them fellas that have two phones, eh? Let me try this other one. Here we go. I'm trying this other one. Maybe the money has his phone. Because the phone just calling. So folks, you're trying to reach Tabakit. If all you see Tabakit must be in the pavement thing they having tonight. I feel so. And you must can't hear your phone. Alright. You go try again later. We ain't get Mr. Tabakit. Yeah, KFC.
Mr. Wall Street,
Yeah.
I pass through the square and I see Paul. I see get back kiosk.
Paul?
And I call Paul now, you might get through, you might get through the Tabaki.
He get through it with the house, he said? Yes, sir?
Yeah, you call the back kiosk.
Alright, let me call him. Let me call Paul. All the point we in trouble, you know. Paul. We calling Paul Saran, the future political analyst Paul Saran. Paul has listened to we, you know. So you know he listening, eh? He said, nah, well, he ain't picking up no phone. But Paul phone ringing though. Hey Paul, you know you're listening. Pick up the phone now, man. Pick up the phone, Paul. No answer from Paul. All right, let me finish up in the chat, and next few minutes we should have David Abdullah. Dane Khan, good evening. Dane Khan says slimy across by UNC pavement report doing what he does best. They need to hold up. Anyway, Gordon Joseph says, God, good evening to all on this platform, all is well, and we get and give relevant truth. That is all we just do here. Yeah, Brooklyn, welcome.
Oh, shit, Uncle Tommy, the live viewers and listeners. What shit? What you calling Paul for? What you want to find out in the PNM so bad that you calling Paul?
No, the man say Paul say he get back house. I want to thank him. I want to be happy for him.
Do that David get back to your house too? You see them fellas have work to do. Well, them girls have work to do. My mistake. Them girls have work to do for the build up of the election. And as much as we know that them girls and them don't get nothing, just by them getting back their house, they have work to do on the ground, and the PNM like to have these kind of people, loudmouth people on the ground. But at any PNM, you see the phone didn't answer because when they started eat crumbs and they feel you rich, you don't really answer. You know, Paul was a person used to call your show. Paul didn't want to hear your show no more. Paul didn't want to see. Paul didn't want to be heard on your show. Because Paul rich with his scrum. Paul got a piece of scrum the other day and he started getting battle on your show. The last time he called your show, you tell him, but wait. But Paul, he wasn't just cussing the PNM. Come talking for the PNM. Now, that the last time he called your show, he never called back. I know what's going on. But again, Paul can't get back in house on the PNM because the PNM didn't give it. The UNC gave that house. He took that one great. She too ungrateful. The UNC will get she that house. And, you know, let me call him here because that can't be a woman. Anyway. But Paul get that from the UNC. But PNM have a habit of taking away things that they never give to people. Just want to take with the pension, they go land, they never get pension, they go that land. They have a habit of that. You know, but them have work to do now. Them have to now be the ground troops for the election for the PNM. You understand?
Yeah.
They like recyclable tools. They just, you know, be recycled every election. All through the year, they crappy and they on the ground. Nothing. No food, nothing. They hungry, they crying. They pay not even go for me. I see something from the bank on to donate for Paul to get money to get that house. He so-called get back today. I know
magic work, boy. But the simple and get them PNM, you know, people in the PNM, they like them kind of fellas, you know, they like them to be close, call them all over the night. And the PNM people, you see that what my Paul would not say phone too early. If your show was like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, you like get Paul answering fast. If there is a job you get, I going.
All right. COP, call back. I just go and get you and you hang up. Call back. Lisa, welcome. Lisa, welcome. Caribbean sources, go and good night. I have to put you separate, else your dotishness go corrupt them. Okay. Yes, COP. COP.
Wall Street.
Yeah.
Good night to you, Wall Street.
Good night.
And good night to you, Uncle Tommy. Good night.
Good night, sir.
All the listeners and them. Wall Street. When you taking a holiday again, you don't wanna you come south side in Trinidad. You see that woman who make that cologne? She's a boss. You see that coconut milk in it? That's my boss.
That's how you have to make it.
That's that boss. Yeah.
Oh, I gotta try it, but
yeah, you don't want to make it, you go spoil it. You don't want to make it, you go spoil it. You're a Trini, a real Trini. Make that for you.
I go try it.
I can make that.
I'll try it.
Long time they say make that with masala curry and pepper and onion and garlic stuff inside of that. All kind of masala seasoning. Now the people them modernize it and put in fish and chicken and goat and shrimps and but you not a meat man. You eat fish?
No, I don't eat that.
Not even fish? What die not?
No fish.
You could stuff it with bygone.
Yeah. I gotta do that.
You could stuff that with dashing bush too. You could stuff that with anything vegetarian. Spinach. You could stuff that with too. Your gourmet. You could stuff that with that too.
Yeah, I gotta do that.
Yeah, we're 8 o'clock up over there.
Right, man. Bless.
Brooklyn taking long.
Yeah. You know.
8 o'clock coming up and taking long. Like your buy time here.
Yeah, all right. Yeah. So, folks, we're gonna go for that break. Our guest is already in the background. So let's take that break. It's In the Village with Uncle Tommy, Professor Wall Street, and you on WZYE 95.9 FM. Folks, I can tell you, we're going to have an interesting night tonight. You're going to learn about Petrotrin. You will learn about Petrotrin, what you didn't want to know all the time. All right? This person bringing the facts, the whole facts, and nothing but the facts. Stick and stay. It's In the Village with Uncle Tommy, Professor Wall Street, and you on WZYE 95.9 FM. Don't forget, share the live, WZYE 95.9 FM on Facebook. You can reach us here at 973-868-1444. That's 973-868-1444.
Also 973-609-6509, 973-609-6509.
We'll be right back.
You're listening to WZYE 95.9 FM. You are listening to WZYE 95.9 FM, the most influential name in Caribbean radio in the tri-state area. Broadcasting from East Orange, New Jersey, the most influential name in Caribbean radio. WZYE 95.9 FM.
We are back with you. It's In the Village with Uncle Tommy, Professor Wall Street, and you on WZYE 95.9 FM. We come to you every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday from 7 to 10 p.m. That's every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday from 7 to 10 p.m. Don't forget, folks, share the live, WZYE 95.9 FM on Facebook. Subscribe. WZYE TV on YouTube. And again, you can reach us here at 973-868-1444. That's 973-868-1444.
Also 973-609-6509, 973-609-6509. And as Wall Street says, share the live. Tell your friends. Tell them all to just tune in and get the truth.
And that's what we're going to get tonight. We get the truth. Let's bring in our guest, no other than the MSJ leader, Brother David Abdullah. Mr. Abdullah, how are you?
Very well, thanks. I'm sure I'm a little warmer than you guys are up there.
Yeah. The temperature ain't easy up here this last 2 weeks. Right? I ain't gonna lie
Yeah,
to you.
I hear you. I hear you. But I'm doing well,
Yeah,
you know.
we had
I
a
did
real
Panorama for a while.
bundle up here, boy. But I mean, we had to deal with it, right? Because we live in here. You know
That's
what I
right.
mean?
That's right.
Yeah,
You
we
have
live
to
in here.
adjust and
So we
and
had to deal with it. So
yeah.
David, how are you?
I'm keeping well. I'm keeping well, you know. Doing my work and also, you know, taking in some of the carnival activity. My wife and I went to a tent on Saturday night. Used to be Kaiser House, now they call it Dynasty. It was a good show. And of course, I was on the drag on Sunday. Didn't stay for the entire thing, but I heard a number of the bands on Sunday. We'll go Panorama Sunday, Saturday night finals, and a couple other activities for the carnival, you know. Have to come out Juve morning to hear Pan on Juve morning and so on. So trying to keep abreast with all that is happening as well as working.
David, as you said about, I don't understand something. Help me with this here. To me, Kaiso House is history of Calypso in Trinidad and Tobago. It's like the review tent, for example. Why would you change the name from a historic Kaiso House to a new name? Help me with that, David.
I can't help you with that. you gotta ask Ainsley King and the other members of Tuco Executive what caused the name change. They're trying to rebrand it to make it a little bit more popular. It also moved out of where it was around the savannah. They had a kind of a tent which was
Yeah, they had a
constructed
tent.
there.
We have a tent
Yeah,
up there. Yeah.
yeah. So it's a Radisson Hotel now on Wrightson Road, in the main ballroom, I suppose you call it, of Radisson. So it was comfortable. And Saturday night there was a good attendance. The most seats were taken up, so they had a good time. It was Judges' Night, so that may have also explained it. But I can't say why the name changed. And people want to rebrand, and so it's not just Kaiso, but it's Soka. And I'm not sure. Yeah, bring the guys from Tuco. And the other question is, why was half of or more of the North Stand bought out by corporate interests?
Correct. Well, by BPTT, right?
Yeah, BP and some other companies. BP was the main one, but some other companies. Yeah.
I trying to understand what is the no. We're going down a road here, but we're just going to go down this road shortly.
Yes.
David, by BPT buying out the North Stands, where the small man used to be able to pay and go in the North Stands, does the Pan players benefit from all that money now? What Pan Trinbago getting?
Well, I can't say that directly. I mean, you have to then examine Pan Trinbago's books to see what is the income they earn and what is the subvention that they get from the government through NCC and so on, right? And whether or not that makes a difference. So the fact of the matter is that, as far as I'm aware, all ticket prices were the same for the North Stand. So whether it is a few corporate companies buy out half the North Stand, the revenue would be the same as if ordinary people bought their tickets and came in one or in posses, as the case may be. But the composition of the North Stand crowd, I think, changed over the years. I used to go to the North Stand long time ago, like 40 years ago and so on, right? And it was a lot of grassroots people. There were middle class people there as well, but it was essentially grassroots people who went to the North Stand. And groups of us, I remember a whole group of us from the union used to go to the North Stand. And then I think that over time, when the North Stand then became the popular place to be for Panorama, you then had other people beginning to go there, right? And you got a change in the composition. And that has happened not only for North Stand on semifinals, because you're not going to find that same crowd on final night, right? So where you find the majority of a lot of the real Pan people is because the North Stand has become very much a kind of a party atmosphere. But the real Pan people are on the drag. They go around from band to band and they're listening to the band. Some of them have heard the band in the Pan yards and so on. And that is where you find a lot of the real Pan people now on the drag on a semi-final. I go on final night to the grandstand because I find that is where I hear the music best. yes, and so on. But the carnival has become very segregated, not now, but for quite a number of years. So the mass bands are highly segregated, ropes around the mass players. And when you see the people who carry the ropes, right, it's primarily black people walking, carrying the ropes. And the people inside the bands are not primarily looking like the people who carry the ropes, right? So we are going in a very bad place in the country generally in terms of social, what the sociologists would call social stratification, which is class, right?
Class
The first person,
consciousness class, yeah.
the first person to write about social stratification in Trinidad and Tobago was Professor Lloyd Braffett. He wrote a very famous paper in the late 50s on social stratification. But our society has become much more that way. I was born and grew up in Jamaica, as you may know. And in Jamaica, there was extreme social stratification. The classes were very distinct. Yes. So depending on where you live, and of course, you might live in Norbrook in Constant Spring, and then just behind Norbrook is the gully, and poor people living just on the other side of the wall, right? But when we came to Trinidad in 71, I came in 71, my family came in 70, the CEO of a company would be driving a Kingswood motor car,
correct,
and so on. But the taxi driver north-south used to drive a Belmont motor car. Both of them old ones. We both old enough to remember this, right? The Kingswood was just maybe air conditioned and had automatic transmission and so on. The Belmont was manual and no air condition. But basically, it's the same motor vehicle, right? But of course now, well, then you had a time when the north-south taxi driver was driving 280C and old cars, and the CEO was driving BMW and Mercedes-Benz. And that now has become even more segmented, where the CEO is driving very expensive SUVs, Benz and BMWs and so on. And the north-south taxi driver now driving 7-seater Nissan vehicles. So that just gives you an indication. Valsain, north and south, were 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom houses on 8 or 10,000 square feet of land, which was just larger than the 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom, 5,000 square feet of land, say in Trin City, right, or some other housing area. Now, Valsain North and South is massive mansions, right? Massive mansions. Same 10,000 square feet of land, but massive mansions. So all of those things indicate what has happened in terms of the rising inequality in wealth and income in Trinidad and Tobago society, which is something that, of course, we fight against and speak out against.
No, David.
But that's another conversation. We could go into that.
Yeah, that's another conversation. David.
Yeah.
We hear rhetoric. I call it rhetorics. We hear rhetorics in Trinidad and Tobago with respect to Petrotrin. That the reason why the government closed down Petrotrin is because Petrotrin wasn't making any money.
Yeah.
Right? And you hear people who support the PNM come and regurgitate that same information over and over. But let me ask you a question first. Has Petrotrin been closed?
Yes, Petrotrin was closed down. In that Petrotrin was an integrated oil company from exploration and production on land and offshore, primarily offshore the west coast and the Gulf of Paria and so on down in the deep south, Trinidad. And then it was involved in refining at Point-à-Pierre, and then marketing, because it sold its products locally on the domestic market. And I have the figures of how much they sold domestically. And then they sold to the CARICOM market, and then extra regional, and then international. So it was an integrated oil company. That was closed down. What we now have are 2 operating companies, which are subsidiaries of a holding company known as Trinidad Petroleum Holding Company Limited. And there are 2 operating companies within that. One is called Heritage Petroleum, and Heritage Petroleum is doing what the former exploration and production division of Petrotrin used to do. In other words, explore for and produce oil on land and offshore, primarily off the West Coast, the Southwest Coast. Then the other operating company is called Paria, and Paria is essentially a company that is importing products because all of Heritage's crude oil that it produces is being exported, right? Because we have no refinery to refine it in, so it's being exported. Paria Fuel Trading Company is simply involved in buying products, gasoline, aviation fuel, LPG, and so on, and they buy it either from a refinery, maybe on the US Gulf Coast or wherever, or they buy it from an international trading company because you have companies involved in the international trade of both crude and products. I'm not sure where Paria buys its products from, they have not said, but they buy products and then they sell those products on the domestic market, and they also buy a certain amount of products which they use to sell to the CARICOM market, which is what the refinery used to do before. So those are the two operating companies under the holding company, Trinidad Petroleum Holding Company. There are two other companies under that holding company. One is called Guaracara Refining Company, which does not do anything, but it owns the assets of the refinery. Yes, so it owns those assets. And then there is Petrotrin, which is legacy Petrotrin, which means all of the outstanding liabilities of Petrotrin has gone into that company, but it is not an operating company any longer. So that is what took place. All of the workers, according to the then chairman of the board, Wilfred Espinay, when he was asked by the media, all of the workers were sent home from vice president or president all the way down to laborers, including all of the temporary workers, all of the casual workers, all of them lost their jobs on the 30th of November 2018.
So we have put that to rest. Folks, we have put that to rest. There is no Petrotrin is closed. There's no more Petrotrin. None. Zero. Naught. All the workers were sent home. Every one of them. Every last one of them. So David, with respect to the explanation there now, who is buying from Petrojam? Who is buying the fuel from Petrojam? Who is now purchasing from which one of the companies?
Paria Fuel Trading Company, which is based at Point-à-Pierre and operates the tank farm at Point-à-Pierre. For those who are familiar with Point-à-Pierre, the tank farm is on the western side of the Southern Main Road, and they operate, of course, the jetties and the pipelines associated. So Paria is the one that has bought fuel from Petrojam. Now, prior to this arrangement, we understand that Paria had been buying bitumen from Petrojam because road paving requires bitumen. Bitumen is what comes out when you refine crude oil. Bitumen is at the bottom of the barrel. The top of the barrel, you get aviation fuel and gasoline and so on. And then you get some middle distillates, and then you get, which were used for petrochemicals, and then you get diesel of different quality. And then you come down to heavy fuel oil, which might be used for bunkering ships, and then you get bitumen, right? So the bitumen we used to get out of the refinery at Point-à-Pierre. We would have had our own supply of bitumen for road paving, and some of that bitumen would have been mixed with the pitch from Lake Asphalt for road paving in Trinidad and Tobago. Now, as we don't have a refinery from the 30th of November, even before that perhaps, because they started shutting down the refinery incrementally from the end of August, because it would have taken time to shut down the plants and so on. We started having to import bitumen. Now, I don't know if Paria itself is importing that bitumen for sale to the contracting companies that do road paving, or whether some of the contracting companies that do road paving are importing the bitumen themselves. But we understand that Petrojam has been selling bitumen to Trinidad for some time. Now, what came out in the news recently is that there is an agreement between Petrojam, which is the state-owned company in Jamaica that has a small refinery. It has a rated capacity of about 30,000 barrels of oil a day, which means that it can have an input, what is known as a throughput of 30,000 barrels of oil a day, but that throughput is not what is it doesn't operate at that throughput. And I have another document which speaks to that, which I'll find in a moment. But the arrangement is for Petrojam to sell Paria, what is known as bunker fuel, which is really diesel of different qualities that will be supplied to ships. That is what bunkering is about. It's not a bunker fuel, but it's really diesel of different qualities to supply to ships that come into Trinidad ports, whether it be at Point Lisas, Port of Spain, Point Fortin, which is the Atlantic LNG port, or into Point au Pair and so on. Ships come in and have to be refueled. And so the refueling exercise is what is known as bunkering. And so what Paria is doing is getting into the bunkering business. Now, there are companies, private companies, that have been doing bunkering. So Paria is now trying to get into that business. And to get into that business, they are buying fuel from Petrojam.
So David, is it at all possible that when we had the refinery and we had bitumen, that we could have been selling bitumen and gaining forex dollars from that, the sale of bitumen?
I don't know that we would have been selling. Bitumen is not an easy product to sell, right? Because you have to keep it fairly warm. Yes, it's not an easy product to sell. So I'm not sure whether Petrotrin used to sell bitumen. I'm going to look at a document here, which you could see on screen, Refining and Marketing Division, April 2018, right? This is one of the documents which I have. And I'll just look at what the product slate was at that time. And I'll tell you where it was. They were producing in April they had a refinery throughput of about 130,000 barrels of oil a day. Now, it would fluctuate depending on some plants being down and so on. Of that, okay, so I'm getting something here. The local market was 28,000 barrels of oil a day, and 28,000 barrels of product a day, not of oil, of product, and that would have been gasoline, aviation fuel, and so on, LPG. Regional, 30,700 barrels a day. Extra regional, 18,700 barrels, and international, 48,000 barrels. So in April of 2018, that is what Petrotrin was actually selling for the month of April. Now, of that, this is now the breakdown of the product slate. 1.7 thousand barrels was LPG, which was basically all sold on the local market, and for which Petrotrin, although it's subsidized, Petrotrin never got a cent in subsidy for that. Mogas, which would have been gasoline and diesel, 47,000 barrels. Jet fuel, 13,600 barrels. Gas oil, 24,800, and fuel oil, 38,300. I'm not seeing how much bitumen, because bitumen is really what comes out at the very end, right? So that is what the product slate was in April of 2018, and where they were selling it and so on, yes? But the union had, sorry, go ahead.
So David, let's stay with 2018.
Yeah.
Can you now give us what are the numbers of the amount of money Petrotrin was making? What were their assets? What were their liabilities, their net income? And how does they talk about a bullet payment was coming due, and they had to make that payment, and it was too much of a large payment, and you would have put the government in jeopardy and so on and so forth. Address that for us.
Sure. Okay, so I don't have in front of me the audited financial statement for 2018, but Petrotrin, I have, and I show it so you could see, right? Petrotrin management accounts up to August 2018. Of course, the decision to close was made in August, right? So this would have been their last management accounts before they made the decision to close. And this is why I'm referring to this, right?
Right.
So I'm going to now show you, because they're different accounting statements, right? So this one is statement of earnings for refining and marketing, because remember, it's an integrated oil company, so that it's the income that Petrotrin earned was from the sale of product. Remember, I just gave you the figures for April of where they sold the product, how much domestic, how much regional, how much extra regional, how much international, what the product breakdown was, how much LPG, how much aviation fuel, how much motor gasoline, and so on, right? So they had to now get revenue. So revenue of refined products, because that's where they get the revenue. Local revenue. Remember I mentioned how much was sold in the local market? 4 billion. This is year to date, end of August, right? 4.8 billion was the local revenue. TT dollars. All this is TT dollars. I have to make that point because you guys operate.
Yeah.
So let me say all the figures I'm quoting is in TT dollars unless otherwise specified. Regional revenue, 5.4 billion. Extra regional, 4.3 billion. International, 7 billion. Total sales, 21.6 billion. All right. And total, then they had a terminaling fee of 6 million.
6 million or 6 billion?
6 million terminaling fee. Yeah. That's a small amount. So the total revenue, let's just do total revenue, $21.6 billion was the total revenue to August 2018. Now, let us now put what is the cost of making those products. So purchases and transfers, purchases from their own crude, purchases from PCOL, which is a small oil company, foreign crude, which is what they had to buy abroad. Foreign crude was 13.5 billion. Other local companies, NGC and so on, 400 million. PCOL, 39 million, and so on. And then they had to buy some other stuff like additives and so on, 325 million. Then their own crude, in other words, crude that they got from the E&P division of Petrotrin, land and Trinma and so on, 4,200,000,000. So they counted the cost of buying their own crude, 4.2 billion. And then they have lease out and farm out, because you have some companies that operate within Petrotrin fields, known as lease out and farm out operators that supply crude. And that came up to 1.1 billion. And then they bought some natural gas of 14 million. Total purchases of crude and everything going into the production of refining, 19.6 billion, yes? And therefore, the gross margin on the refinery, remember they said the refinery was losing $4 on every barrel. So the gross margin on the refinery, based upon the importation of crude, because remember they were saying you're importing crude because we didn't produce enough crude and so on. But the model was always to buy imported crude together with your local crude, and you refine it. The gross margin was $2,670,000,000. Okay, now that did not include the cost of operating the refinery in terms of wages and so on, right? So operating expenses, which would have been wages and electricity and things like that, $1.46 billion. Okay, but you then had to add to that now some other overheads. And let me just make the point. Because I have the figure here for which is part of the same August accounting, right? For the cost of labor. Remember, and I'll come back to what the actual bottom line was, because there was a loss, but I'll explain why there was a loss. So remember, they were saying that the labor costs were way too high. A laborer was working for, $25,000 a month or $20,000. All that was misleading and false, right? So the labor costs now, salaries and wages for the land exploration and production. This is for the 11 months ending 2018 August, was $306 million. Trinma, which is your offshore, the West Coast, $290 million. So total E&P was 596. Now that labor cost would have been included in your let me just make sure I'm not making a mistake here. That would have been included in the cost of buying crude from your exploration and production, okay? Because the purchase of crude would have included the cost of that. But let me just go down now to refining and marketing operations. Refining, labor costs, 672 million, that's for the year. Marketing and trading, these are the guys who are responsible for selling and that kind of thing. 61, I call it 62 million, right? So the cost of labor for the refining operations and marketing would have been $734 million. But then you have to add to that corporate support. And your corporate support now was loaded onto the cost of refining. Yes?
Yeah.
So the president's group, 145 million. Now, remember, all the guys working in the refinery, operators, mechanics, pump mechanics, and so on, your maintenance guys, was 672. So
Yes.
the president's group alone was like, more than a quarter. If you multiply that, it would have been much more than 20% of the cost of the guys doing the actual physical work. President's group, 145 million. Corporate expenses, finance group, 165 million. Human resource and corporate services, guys like PR and so on, 285 million, right? So the union always argued that when you had to look at the overall cost of labor, the company was top heavy because you had $734 million in refining, both the guys in refining and marketing and so on, compared with a total of 596 in your corporate type activities, president's group, finance group, and so on. So the company was top heavy, and therefore there could have been a reduction in labor there, and that is what you was about.
So David,
let me just come back to what the final accounting.
Yeah, let me break it down to the expenses, the revenue, the expenses, and what was net income.
Right. So the gross margin was 2.6 billion.
Right.
The operating expenses was 1,460,000,000, which would have been the costs I attributed to the refinery and the corporate group and so on. Then you had depreciation and amortization, 780 million. Now that's a non-cost item, but it is included in your balance in your income expenditure thing, 780 million. So your total expenses then came up to 2,400,000,000. So your operating surplus, which included a non-cash expenditure of depreciation of 780 million, was $270 million. Okay, so the company had what is known as free cash flow of a significant amount of money, 270 million.
But David, wait a minute. What was the revenue as of August 2018? What was the revenue? You don't have to give them all the what make up. Just give us the bottom line.
21.6 billion was the total revenue.
Right, 21.6 billion was the total revenue as of August 2018, right?
Right, and
then the total purchases were 19.6 billion.
Right, to which you have to add now the operating costs of the refinery, which was 2,400,000,000, and therefore you had an operating surplus of 269 million. Okay.
So what was the bottom line on that?
Right. The problem where the bottom line got hit was the interest on loans, which was 600.
So David, in order to clarify, go ahead.
Interest on loans
was
$690 million. Yes. That is where you had the problem. So as a result of that, you then had a loss of 624 million.
Okay. So let me see if I could explain it for the layman.
Yeah.
We have revenue, which was about 21.6 billion, right? We had expenses, right? But the expenses included the interest on the loans that they had. Correct?
That is correct.
So forget about the interest for now. when we take revenue minus expenses, Petrotrin was making money.
That is correct.
Right? However,
that is correct.
when you bring in the interest rate and the loan, it appears that Petrotrin was losing money.
That
and
is
David,
correct.
And even though they closed down Petrotrin, that loan didn't go away. Somebody still have to go and pay that loan.
Heritage is paying that loan. It never went away. No, you're absolutely right. Now, there were two things. Now, you remember there was a Lashley committee, right?
Yes.
I was a member of that committee, and I have the report here, the Lashley committee. And I was a member of that committee, right? That is the committee, which reported to the cabinet on the 1st of June, 2017. Nowhere in the Lashley committee did it recommend the closure of Petrotrin. There has never been a study or report that recommended either the closure of Petrotrin, the retrenchment of all the workers, or the closure of the refinery. Nothing. The decision was made on the basis of 3 PowerPoint slides. 3 PowerPoint slides is what the decision was made to close. Now, in August of 2018, now the decision was taken towards the end of August 2018 to close. But in early August of 2018, the company Petrotrin, the Espinay board, had just hired an American guy, I can't remember his name now, to be vice president of exploration and production. And they had hired another American guy to be vice president of refining and marketing. Now, the guy who was hired as head of exploration and production, when Petrotrin was closed, then became president of Heritage, which took over the exploration and production. But because there was no refinery, the guy who was hired as vice president for refining and marketing, contracted by Petrotrin, had to be paid off because he had a contract, right? So how is it that 2 weeks before you decide to close down, you're hiring high-paid guys who you have to pay in US dollars and so on, because they come from the States. You hire 2 high-paid guys to run the business of the company, and 2 weeks after you hire them, you close down the company. So at all times the company was planning to restructure. So if in February, the 21st of February 2018, there was a joint select committee of Parliament. There's a joint select committee, a standing committee, what you guys would call, I suppose, your Senate committee on something, and your House committee,
when you go before
right?
the Senate, yeah.
So there's an energy select committee of Parliament, joint select, and Petrotrin had to appear before that committee. And Mr. Nigel Edwards, who's now CEO of Unit Trust, was a member of the board of Petrotrin at the time. And he said at that joint select committee that Petrotrin had a very significant free cash flow amounting to $270 million US, or $1.8 billion between 2013 and 2017. And he then presented its agreed plan of action to the Joint Select Committee that would see the company generate US $1.2 billion in free cash flow between 2018 and 2022. Now, free cash flow is earnings before interest, dividends, taxes, and things like that, right? In other words, you're making a profit before you have to pay out some of these other liabilities. So in other words, the company was profitable. It was profitable. The refinery was not losing money. If it was losing money, they could not generate free cash flows at all. Yeah.
So David,
yes.
So we understand that Petrotrin was making money, and is this interest on these loans? And someone had a quick question. Do you know what year Petrotrin Refinery started borrowing?
Somewhere in the early 2000s. Early 2000s, Patrick Manning was prime minister. Malcolm Jones was the executive chairman, and they borrowed for the refinery upgrade. I have the information somewhere, but it took me a minute or two to locate. So early to mid 2000s, right? and they borrowed these two huge bonds. I just want to find the actual amount of the bonds and so on, right? One was the $850 million US bond payment, which was a bullet payment, and the other one was a $750 million bond, which they were paying principal and interest on. And the 850 bullet payment, which was due in 2019, they were paying interest on that. But in 2019, the company would have had to pay off the full principal amount. Yes. Now,
but was that paid off anywhere? Was when 2019 came? What happened?
Prior to 2019, those bonds were restructured, refinanced at lower interest rates.
Okay.
And after the closure of Petrotrin, they were restructured. They were restructured after the closure of Petrotrin at least once, if not twice, at lower interest rates. And it had been argued. In fact, when we were on the Lashley committee, we were told, don't worry about the loans. Other people are looking at that, because the government had actually gone on a bond roadshow and they raised $1 billion in bonds somewhere around 2017 at much lower interest rates. So I'm going to give you the interest payments on those bonds, right? If I could find it, because you see, they were paying like 9.75%. Okay, right, I have it here. The interest payment on the 850 bullet payment was 9.75%. The interest payment on the other bond was 6%. Now, after the 2008 Wall Street crash, interest rates fell significantly, and therefore those interest rates could have been the bond could have been restructured at a lower interest rate of 9.75%, because interest rates had fallen to 1-2%, right? And so on. And that $750 million, which was not the bond, not the bullet payment, that had been paid down by Petrotrin. So by 2018, Petrotrin only owed in principal $250 million on that one, in principal, and it owed in principal $850 on the bullet payment. And Petrotrin was paying in US dollars all of the principal payments on the $750 and all of the interest payments on that amortized loan and the bullet payment $850 million. At no time did Petrotrin ever require a cent from the government or from taxpayers to meet any of its obligations. It never required borrowing foreign exchange from the central bank to meet any of its obligations. Now, it is notable that today, Paria sometimes has to access foreign exchange from the central bank in order to pay for the gasoline and aviation fuel that Paria is importing. Because Paria doesn't earn any foreign exchange, or not as much foreign exchange, if they sell to the regional market that they have to put into the domestic market, buy fuel for the domestic market. So what Petrotrin was never a drain on foreign exchange, because it met all of its obligations. It purchased all of the crude oil internationally using foreign exchange that it earned from the sale of product and so on. So it did not impact negatively on foreign exchange. It never used a cent of taxpayers' money. And
so David, I want to clarify something here. A point you just made that's very important. Are you saying that Petrotrin never had to go to the central bank to get Forex to do its business?
I'm saying that, absolutely. I'm also saying that Petrotrin contributed. Now, remember, the government said that Petrotrin had become a ward of the state?
Yes.
All right. So let me give you the facts. Between 2004 and 2016, Petrotrin contributed in direct taxes to the government. Now, that's not at PAYE from the workers who are working. Direct taxes to the government, a total of 49 billion TT dollars.
49
billion between 2004 and 2016. Between 2010 and 2016, Petrotrin paid $20.3 billion in taxes. So up
Between
to
when and when? Between when and when, you said?
2010 and 2016. It paid 20.3.
How much they paid?
20.3 billion TT dollars in taxes. And only BPTT and NGC contributed more than that to the government in terms of tax revenue. And these figures come from the Trinidad and Tobago Extractive Industries Transparency International reports, which are published annually. So far from being a ward of the state, Petrotrin was one of the biggest direct tax contributors to the government. Yes? When you add PAYE from workers, that was also a significant contribution. Now, after 2016, Petrotrin did have a problem in paying taxes because the price of oil fell beginning in late 2014 and continuing in 2015 and 2016 and into 2017. The price of oil fell. And so as a result of that fall in prices, Petrotrin was owing taxes. It couldn't pay its taxes and pay the loans. So what did it do? It prioritized paying the loans so that the credit rating of Petrotrin and therefore the country would not be adversely affected.
Correct.
And I'll come back to my evidence in the industrial court on that matter.
I want to ask you something before we change.
Yeah.
Then, David, if Petrotrin was making money, it wasn't a burden on the government. Why did the government close down Petrotrin?
In my view, they wanted to get rid of the Oilfields Workers Trade Union. Wilfred Espinay, the chairman of Petrotrin, in a panel discussion that I was on with him in September 2018, after the announcement was made to close the company, I challenged him. I said, okay, Mr. Espinay, assuming but not admitting, that's a nice legal phrase, right? That the refinery was losing money. We don't accept that, but let us say the refinery was losing money. That's the government's argument. And you wanted to close the refinery. Why then did you send home, retrench all the workers in exploration and production? Because there was never an argument that exploration and production was losing money, only the refinery. So why did you send home all those workers? Was it that you wanted to get rid of the collective agreement? And he said, yes. And I said, well, the only way you could get rid of the collective agreement, which is a legally binding terms and conditions of employment and other things, it is legally binding on both the employer and on the union, management, and workers, yes? The only way you could get rid of that legal document, because once it is registered in industrial court, it becomes law. Only way you could do that is to get rid of the union. So if there's no union, the collective agreement automatically goes out the door with the union. So he was forced to say, well, getting rid of the collective agreement. They want to get rid of the union and get rid of the collective agreement.
So there are no unions now with Paria and...
No, they're none. They're none. The OWTU has a case in the court for what is known as successorship. The OWTU is saying that Paria is essentially a successor to the exploration and production division of Petrotrin, and therefore the collective agreements that were for the workers in E&P should continue with Paria. That matter is still before the court and is tied up in a legality because Petrotrin challenged the decision of the industrial court that said that the memorandum of agreement was legally binding on the company that had been signed with the union in 2018 April. For Paria, so what happens in Paria and in Heritage is that they now have workers employed as contractors, labor supply arrangement. So you have a company called Kenson, the principal of which is Mr. Kenneth Ferguson, former mayor of San Fernando, or PNM mayor of San Fernando. So Kenson now hires workers, yes? And they hire the workers as labor supply. So the workers have to bring their own boots and coveralls and other equipment and so on. They have to, and the rate of pay is like 1/6 or 1/7 of what that same worker would have been paid when they were working in Petrotrin. So the wages are being cut tremendously. And that is one of the things that led that terrible accident at Paria, with the 4 divers who died in the pipeline. Yeah. If you look at the Commission of Inquiry reports, you will see that there were several layers of supervision. There was Kenson, so that you had somebody who was contracted by Kenson to supervise people who were contracted by Paria, which was LMCS and so on. And then you had somebody from Paria. So you had all kinds of confusing arrangements which would not have existed if it was Petrotrin, because you would have had Petrotrin supervisors and managers responsible and accountable for what took place out there. And you would have had the union officers, safety officers, making sure that all of that was in place. And you would have had a robust health and safety department in Petrotrin that would have ensured that all the rules and regulations would have been followed. All of that, of course, has gone out the window, and you now have these people employed as labor supply contractors working for a fraction of what they would have worked for had it been permanent.
Right.
But
So David, to follow up what you just said, right?
Yeah.
There's this question, right? So you in your opinion, the government closed down Petrotrin because they wanted to get rid of the trade union.
Yeah.
Right. Here's the question. The person said, Mr. Abdullah, do you think Petrotrin was closed due to the scandalous report of Vidya Duki Singh regarding the invisible oil Petrotrin had to pay for?
Right. That is a popular view, and many people hold that view, and they're entitled to hold that view. I don't agree with that, because that issue would have been determined whether it was Petrotrin or its successor company. Yeah, the government was in charge of the board, whether it was Petrotrin or TPHL or Paria or whatever. The government had still appointed those persons to the board. So I don't agree with that. I think that they really wanted to get rid of the union because, you see, there have been a number of other arrangements, like, for example, TSTT, which then bought a company from Massey Communications, and they named that Amplia. And then they have they got Amplia to do the work that TSTT workers used to do. Amplia is not unionized. TSTT was, so they retrenched workers at TSTT and reduced TSTT to a skeleton company. And the work is being done by a non-unionized company called Amplia. It's the same kind of model that has happened. And this has been going on in other places as well. They don't like trade unions. They don't want trade unions. I think that is the primary reason. Other people have other views, and they're entitled to that. But I think the primary reason was the union. Yes.
And here's the next question for you. Question to Mr. Abdullah. Why didn't the trade union fight for the restructuring of Petrotrin? I think you guys fought for that, right?
Yes. In fact, in April. Okay, so first of all, right, let me just give some timelines. January the 30th, Monday, the Prime Minister asked me, David Abdullah.
What year was that?
2017.
Okay.
I retired as General Secretary of the Union at the end of March, beginning of April 2016. So I was no longer a union officer, okay? Let me make that clear. So I get invited to the Prime Minister to meet with him to discuss Petrotrin. And I meet with him at the Diplomatic Center. And I think Minister Stuart Young was also present. The Prime Minister asked whether, in my view, the union would be open to meeting with him to discuss the issue of Petrotrin. Yes, because Petrotrin was in some difficulty because it was having these debts and so on, right? So it wasn't difficult. The union had difficulty with how the company was being managed as well. So on the I then met with the President General the very next day, one-on-one, and said to him, this is a meeting I had with the Prime Minister. Would the union be willing to meet? And the President General said, sure. And so Monday, the 13th of February, there was a meeting between the union's executive and the Prime Minister at the Prime Minister's office in St. Clair at the time, on St. Clair Avenue. I was present in that meeting. I was not a member of the union's team. I was kind of a independent arbiter, if you wish. And the Prime Minister had his Minister of Energy, Franklin Khan, now deceased, and Minister Stuart Young were present. So the Prime Minister said he wanted to set up.
At that time, Minister Stuart Young was the Minister of National Security, or was he Minister of Energy?
He was not Minister of Energy. Franklin Khan was Minister of Energy.
So he was Minister of National Security then?
I can't put my head on a block. You could double check. He was certainly Minister in the office of the Prime Minister.
Okay, all right.
So that, I think that was the capacity in which he was present, right? And then the government said they were going to, the Prime Minister said he's going to set up this investigating committee, and would the union nominate people to the committee? And the union said, yes, they will nominate people to the committee. And that's how I got nominated together with another retired union officer, Gregory Marchand, and we served on the Lashley committee, okay? So, that is how that Lashley committee got set up. Now, in 2018, so the Lashley committee then reports in June of 2017. One of the recommendations of the Lashley committee was to restructure the company into, and I'm going to quote. So this is recommendations, section 8, right? And point 2 is, organizational structure. To enable the executive and senior management to focus on strategic and operational responsibilities of managing profitable businesses for which they will be held accountable, we recommend A, the establishment of 3 operationally independent business units, namely TRINMA, Land Exploration and Production, Refining and Marketing, that each of these 3 of these business units be led and managed by persons who will be responsible for organizing all the resources, financial, human, physical, within the unit in order to achieve the established targets and be held accountable for the business performance. C, that the office of the president of the company be accountable for ensuring the implementation of policy across all business units, providing oversight and strategic leadership of the company. So that was the restructuring that I was part of recommending. Yes? Now, the other recommendation was the following. Number 1, governance arrangements, still reading from recommendations. To enable the company to have a consistent, focused mandate, facilitate long-term planning, and avoid the frequent changes in board and management. And let me put in brackets here now, that wasn't a thing. We were very concerned that every time a government changes, you get a new board, which then says, well, everything the previous board done was nonsense. And they fire the managers and bring in new managers. So there's no long-term planning or operations of the company. You can't run a oil company on the basis of changing governments and changing ministers every Monday morning. This is long-term. You're operating in an environment with your Exxon Mobils and your Shells and so on. You can't be doing that. So we said, we recommend, A, the members of the board of directors are selected through a process which provides for comprehensive and transparent input and feedback from key stakeholders to ensure that members possess the relevant experience and capabilities to address priority matters critical to the transformation and sustainable development of the company. B, Petrotrin adopts and adheres to the laws and regulations that apply to publicly listed companies, especially with respect to transparency and accountability. And C, Petrotrin adopts a policy whereby the board of directors' terms of office are cycled in such a manner as to ensure that at all times there is continuity of membership of at least 50% of the board. In other words, after 2 or 3 years, 3 people come off, but 3 stay on, and 3 new people come on, and so there's always continuity. So that was what the recommendation was. On the 29th of...
So did the government... So the government basically took that last report and threw it in the disposable files?
Yes, they did. Because on the 29th, so we submitted this report on the 1st of June 2017. On the 29th of August 2017, I know that very clearly because that was my daughter's birthday, my eldest daughter's birthday. I get a call from the Prime Minister asking me to be a member of the board. So I said to him, well, let me get back to him because I was about to go into dinner with my daughter, I think, my wife and my son, I think. So I then sent him some text messages and said, am I being appointed consistent with the recommendations of the Lashley Committee? Because I can't accept a position on the board on a basis that was different from what I was involved in recommending. That would be wrong in terms of my integrity and taking principal positions on policy. Well, of course, I couldn't get a straight answer on that. So the next day I said, well, thank you very much, Prime Minister, but I cannot accept under these conditions. And the people were, Lashley himself, Espinay himself, Robert Riley himself, they were all appointed, all of them were on the Lashley Committee, all of them got appointed to the board. Not under the way in which, because the stakeholders were not requested. Now, if the Prime Minister had asked the union to nominate a person to the board, and the union that in accordance with this, the stakeholders will be consulted, and the stakeholder named the union said, we would like David Abdullah to serve on the board, then I would have accepted, yes? But that didn't take place because I asked the union, were you asked to nominate anybody? And they said no. So I said, well, no, I can't accept on that basis. So we did try to have the company restructured. And we made an input on the Lashley Committee in terms of how the company will be restructured. But further to that, the board...
David, before you go, hold that thought right there. Before you go, we have to go for a quick break. Hold that thought right here. David, is that Lashley report a public report?
It should be. It should be. It should be, yeah.
Would I be able to go on our website and find that report? No?
I can't say. I mean, if it was put up, it should have been laid in Parliament, but I can't say 100%.
Okay.
If not, I will email it to you, man. I don't have a problem with that.
All right. Thanks a lot. So, folks, we're going to go for a quick break. It's Uncle Tommy, Professor Wall Street, and MSJ leader David Abdullah with us. Going for a short break, and we'll be right back.
You're listening to WZYE 95.9 FM. You are listening to WZYE 95.9 FM, the most influential name in Caribbean radio in the tri-state area. Broadcasting from East Orange, New Jersey, the most influential name in Caribbean radio, WZYE 95.9 FM.
We are back with you. It's In the Village with Uncle Tommy, Professor Wall Street, MSJ leader David Abdullah, and you on WZYE 95.9 FM. We come to you every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday from 7 to 10 p.m. That's every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday from 7 to 10 p.m. Don't forget, share the live, folks. WZYE 95.9 FM on Facebook. Subscribe. WZYE TV on YouTube. And you can reach us here at 973-868-1444. That's 973-868-1444.
Also at 973-609-6509, 973-609-6509. You know.
So Tommy, let's take this call. This person have a question for David. Caller, welcome. You have a question for Mr. David Abdullah?
Good night again, Mr. Answer, Mr. Tommy. Good night, Mr. Abdullah.
Good night.
Go ahead.
Mr. Abdullah, so you know, Section 2 is on for about 6 years now, right? Or maybe 7 years. What would be the financial cost to restart this plan to get it back on stream? How long do you think it would take? And is the plan automated in a sense, like 50-40%, or is it not? That's my question.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right. So I don't have an exact cost of what it will take, and that cost will be a rolling figure. In other words, I'm aware that when the union's company,
Hold on, caller. Go ahead, David.
Yeah.
Hold on.
The union's company, Patriotic Technologies Energies Company, made its first bid in 2019 for the refinery. they estimated about 500 million US to get it up and running, and they had technical experts, engineering people going in and examining the plant and so on. Yes, now that would have been 2019. The plant has been down for longer than that, and therefore that 500 million US would have gone up. I can't say exactly what it is, but I think it's upward of 500 million US. Now, how long will it take? Probably between 6 and 9 months to get first production. You may not get the refinery back up to 140,000 or 170. Its rated capacity is 175,000 barrels a day, but it was running just prior to closure at about 145,000 barrels. April was 130, but it went up to about 145 after that. So you're not going to get it up to 130,000 right away, but you have to bring the plants up sequentially. Yes. And therefore you get cash flow, and as you get your cash flow, you continue your refurbishment work. But you could begin production, I think, within, well, under 9 months.
So let's take this other call. Caller, you have a question for David Abdullah. What's your question?
Oh, good night again, Brother Walsh and Brother Tommy. And good night to you, Mr. Abdullah. So good to hear you on the program here. Now, my question to you, sir. Now, this Petrotrin issue that we are dealing with here today, see this information that you are bringing to the forefront today in Trinidad and Tobago. Let me tell you something, my brother. I would like to find out from some of these key players, such as yourself and other people who was in close position with these people who come up with that decision to shut down this refinery. From 2015, right? They get into office. Am I coming across clear?
Clear.
All right. From 2015, when the Dr. Rowley them took office here. Now, Petrotrin was running before they came in. And when they came in, it took them until they had a bullet payment in 2019. Okay, I understand that. Okay, everybody hear that and we understand that. What I would like you people to do in Trinidad and Tobago, and you people who was following the politicians and their behavior in office, how much money did the PNM spend doing all sorts of other things from 2015 to 2019? Why they didn't service Petrotrin to keep it? Because it's a state asset. They didn't look into that. I remember they spend money doing all kind of.
So reporter, what's your question for David?
Oh well, if it doesn't make any sense, they was better they try to pay off that money, right? I want to know if they could have done that. If they could have do that instead of shutting it down, because remember they had until 2019, right? And they had a budget from 2015, 16, all long coming down there. If they could not pay off that and clear it, I asked that question. I looked on and
yeah,
listened.
man. All right.
Yeah. Okay. The short answer is no. The government would not have had out of government revenue, given where the oil price was and the financial situation, the ability to pay that loan. Now, Petrotrin was paying the loan, paying both loans. What had to happen is that the amount of money that Petrotrin was paying on interest and so on, needed to come down by restructuring the loans at a lower interest rate. And therefore, they could have saved hundreds of millions of dollars, because they were spending $1 billion a year on principal and interest payments. If that had come down by 700 million. Now, let me just answer one of the earlier questions that you asked about the union and restructuring. In April of 2018, there was a memorandum of agreement signed between the union and the company. There was a prior meeting with the board. I was at that meeting. I was invited to be there and so on. And subsequent to that, there was an agreement that the union had to engage in a restructuring exercise. Now, about 40 to 50% of the labor force of Petrotrin was over the age of 50, was an aging workforce. And therefore, there could have been a voluntary separation of employment arrangement, which had happened many times before. It had happened about 5 times in the oil industry after in the 80s coming up the line, right? And had there been a voluntary separation, the workforce would have been reduced at a much lower cost than having to pay people severance pay and so on, which will happen the way in which they close. And there's now a liability to the pension plan, because there's no money going into the pension plan, but pensions have been paid out and have to be paid out until the last person who is entitled to a pension gets that money. So the cost of doing it the way they did was much higher than a voluntary separation. Had you had that voluntary separation, remember I quoted the labor costs, right? So the labor costs for the refinery, which I had quoted, of $670 million over an 11 months period, and marketing and trading 62 million over that 11-month period. Those costs could have come down. Similarly for exploration and production. And if they had restructured the President's Group and Human Resource and Corporate Services Group, they could have cut a significant amount of money out of the labor costs, and therefore the company would have had the cash flow to meet its obligations. And let me just make one other point. During COVID, and you guys could do that research. I didn't get that for tonight. During COVID, the price of oil fell to below zero at one point, but products, gasoline and so on, wasn't selling for zero, right? Selling for above that. So refineries made a huge, humongous super profits for about 2-3 years during COVID and just after COVID. Huge profits, super profits, and windfall profits. Had we had the refinery at that time, we wouldn't have known that in 2018 when it was closed. But just making the point, had we had a refinery then, the refinery would have made super profits and would probably have been able to clear off all of its debt. And the company would have been absolutely debt-free and that kind of thing. And let me just make a point here. If you have another call.
Yeah, you have another call. Go ahead.
Sure, go ahead. Yeah.
Caller.
Yes, good night. Yes.
What's your question for David?
Are you hearing me?
Loud and clear.
Yeah, my question is, I just want to say two things. So good night.
No, ask the question.
I'm telling you the question. Okay.
Okay.
So with regards to the cost of goods sold, because you talked about the $21 billion in revenue for the consolidated company.
Yes.
But you said part of it came in from, I don't have the statements before me, but part of it was about the amount was from the production, like Trinmar. Why wasn't that added back? Because you said $21 billion was in revenue.
Yeah.
Right? But you had to put part of that $19 billion was the $4 billion or something like that. There was a figure from the production side that the refinery was taking in. Wasn't that revenue also on the production side also to get, because you came up with a 1.6 billion net operating figure, which is about 253 million.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I understand what the call is.
All right. Thanks. Thank you, man.
I understand what the call is driving at.
Yeah.
The thing is that Petrotrim was an integrated oil company, so that it sold final product, and that is what you have to look at. It's revenue from the sale of refined products, which was $21.6 billion at the end of August, the 11 months at the end of August, right? So the cost of making those products, they had to factor in the cost of crude, whether it came from its own crude or whether it came from imported crude. And therefore, the expenditure to make those products, to make the products that it sold, would have included what it purchased from itself, which was an intra-company transfer, if you wish. Yes, but it had to be accounted for in this way. So that revenue from the sale of, if you want to put it that way, from the crude from, say, Trinmar, from land production, could not be added back to the revenue from the sale of product, because that revenue that the refinery then, if you wish, would have paid to E&P had to go to the cost of producing that crude, which would have included the cost of labor and all the other associated costs for producing that crude, right? So this is a consolidated account statement. So it is like if you have, let me just see if I could, okay, so you have a restaurant. So you're selling provision and saltfish, okay? So we use that, actually you're selling provision and saltfish. But you also, that company which has a restaurant, you also have a little agricultural business running. And on that agricultural business, well, you don't have saltfish, but you're growing provision. So the restaurant now, to properly account for it, the restaurant has to pay your agricultural branch or your division of the company for the purchase of the cassava and dasheen and so on. But your total revenue for the company is from the sale of provision and saltfish on a Saturday.
So,
I hope that explains the
so,
relationship.
all right. So there you have it. So David, here is another question, and I don't know if you have the answer for this. Who was the chairman of TTST at the time when Ampere was purchased?
From memory, it was Robert Mayers, who's a good friend of mine.
Oh, it wasn't Elias. Elias was chairman of the board at one time, I think.
Oh, okay. Yes, you're right. So it may have been Elias when Ampere was set up. You may be right. You may be right.
Because I was just thinking that
I
it
think
might have been.
I think the first retrenchment happened when Robert Mayers was chairman. So I think you're right on that. If I'm wrong, I'll have to apologize.
No, I'm
to
just
Robert
thinking.
when
Tommy, you had a question? Go ahead,
Yeah,
Tommy.
Brother Abdullah.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Now, OWTU set up Patriot, a company that they attempted to buy that oil refinery with. In your opinion, do you really believe the government was genuinely trying to facilitate that purchase?
Very good question. The Minister of Finance, when he announced that Patriotic won the bid, was in Parliament. I don't remember the exact date, but spoke in Parliament, and you could Google his statement in Parliament, and he announced what had happened with the whole process, how many companies, I think some 20-something companies initially put in a bid, and then it got shortlisted to 5, and then Patriotic came out on top. And very interesting, he said that Patriotic had made a bid to both purchase the refinery, and would have had the financing to refurbish the refinery to get it operational. Now, that would therefore be 2 sets of large amounts of money the Patriotic would have had to borrow, right, in order to acquire the refinery and to get it up and running. He then said that given the financing situation and the cash flows that were likely to come, I'm paraphrasing, the government has decided, cabinet has decided for a moratorium on the purchase price. Yes. In other words, that would have enabled Patriotic to get the money to do the refurbishment, and then as the cash flows came in, it would then have paid the purchase price over a period of time. Now, that was an indication at that time that the government may have been serious about the sale. However, what was not disclosed to Patriotic, and I think Patriotic also had a blind spot in this regard, didn't get that information because it would have been or should have been available publicly, is that those bonds of the original 750, which had been paid down to 250 million by August of 2018, and the bullet payment of 850 million US, the bondholders had secured those bonds not by a government guarantee, but by a mortgage lien on the assets of Petrotrin, the refinery, the tank farm and all of that, and some of the producing fields. And therefore, nobody could have bought the refinery unless those mortgage liens had been released. And the bondholders were not prepared to release their hold on the assets of the refinery and of what is now Paria, with the jetty operations, the port operations, and the tank farm and associated pipelines and other equipment. And when that became known, that is when everything started to go south. And it is going to be interesting because there's been another effort to get the refinery up and running. Patriotic went back in again, but they were not shortlisted. We don't know why. But it'll be interesting. The Prime Minister said recently that by the end of February, an announcement will be made, where we're about a week away from the end of February, as to which company had been approved. And it'll be interesting to know whether it is going to be a lease as distinct from a sale or purchase of the refinery, because as far as I'm aware, the bondholders still have that asset as security or guarantee for their money they loaned. Now, sometime after it became public about the mortgage, the Minister of Finance went in a press conference and publicly said that that's not a problem because we can remove the mortgage on those properties or those assets and place it somewhere else. But that never seemed to have taken place. And therefore, the government, I'm sure, was well aware about the mortgage lien, and therefore may very well have been taking the union's company down the garden path.
Yeah, let me take this call from this other caller. Hold on,
sure.
Caller, you have a question for David? Caller.
Good night, Uncle Tommy. Good night, Professor Walsh, and good night, Sir Abdullah.
Good night.
The question to David is, we have two sets of information in the general public. And the information coming from the government, can any action be taken to the government about misleading the public? Or if he's aware that if the union have challenged the government statement concerning the statement of all these reports and all these evidence that the union has towards the closing of Petrotrin?
Thank you.
Yeah, so the answer is yes. I myself went on television the same night that the SPNA told the union of the closure. I went on television that same night. I was on television the next morning on 2 stations. I was on radio and so on. And many other programs. I mentioned the 2 panel discussions with SPNA, one at UE, one at Cipriani, and rebutted a lot of the arguments that were made. I was looking for the dates. One was on September 14th at Cipriani, and one was on September 19th at UE. The union produced in September 18 a document called Saving Petrotrin or the Hughes Alternative Plan, and a lot of the information that I provided was contained in this document. It was launched at La Jolla in a public forum, and the President General launched this document. We put out that information. I spoke. In fact, MSJ had a breakfast meeting at Cara Suites in Claxton Bay, and I had former Minister of Energy Caroline C. Prasad Bechan appearing on it, and a former Vice President of Finance of Petrotrin. She spoke as well, and we rebutted all of this information that we streamed it live. So there were many efforts at doing that, but of course, a lot of people, because the government says so, it has to be so. You remember they said that the country would have been downgraded. S&Ps and Moody's and so on would have downgraded the country, and we would have our loan payments, interest rates would have gone up, and credit would have been bad, and all kind of things like that. Well, Vishnu Danpal, who was and SPNA gave affidavits and so on to the Industrial Court and to the Court of Appeal on these matters. Unfortunately, the union was except for our lawyers, we were not able to put in affidavits to the Court of Appeal because Reggie Amor, who was the attorney, now Attorney General, but then attorney for Petrotrin, went to the Court of Appeal to appeal the decision of the Industrial Court, because the Industrial Court put an injunction on Petrotrin to proceed with this closure, and the Reggie Amor, attorney for Petrotrin, went to the Court of Appeal virtually in the dead of night to appeal the decision, and the union was unable in that short space of time to present all the evidence to the Court of Appeal. But the Court of Appeal made one interesting point. It said that a court cannot overturn a policy decision of the government because that is not the business of the court. The court can deal with if a government implements something that is not done in keeping with natural justice or with legally binding agreements and so on, but it cannot overturn a policy decision. So even if we had presented evidence, the court was unlikely to overturn the policy decision to close down Petrotrin and close the refinery. However, the union challenged the company or filed what is known as filed an action in industrial court, saying that the company violated the memorandum of agreement, which was legally binding, by not meeting with the union to discuss restructuring, and they closed the company without ever discussing restructuring. The union won that case, but of course could not stop the restructuring. And I gave evidence. So this is my document, which is my affidavit, witness statement rather, of David Abdullah. You could see it at the bottom, and at the top, in Industrial Court of Trinidad and Tobago, in the matter of the Industrial Relations Act between PetroTrin and the Oilfields Workers Trade Union, and you will see the various attorneys that were representing the union. So this is my witness statement. And in my witness statement, I said, and
so
I
David,
went through all of these.
David, 1 minute.
Yeah, sure.
Caller, you have a quick question for David? What's your question? Caller.
Yes, good evening, Wall Street. No, I just wanted to find out who is the owner of Paria. That's for my information.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
All right.
So the owner, Paria is owned by Trinidad Petroleum Holdings Limited, which is the holding company that owns Paria and Heritage and Guaracara and Legacy Petrotrin. And the owner of Trinidad Petroleum Holdings Company Limited is Corporation Sole, Minister of Finance, which is therefore 100% state-owned company. And
So-
therefore the taxpayers own it.
David, before you get back to your witness statement, Nadira is asking, Mr. Abdullah, are you going to be join us on Saturday at the MP House in Couva to offer prayers for the divers?
Oh, yeah, I'm not sure. I have a commitment. I have a webinar on Saturday for the Assembly of Caribbean People. We have a regional webinar which I have to present and host. I'm not sure whether I'm able to do that on Saturday. But I have been at various events for the divers on many occasions.
Here is another question, and the person said, Mr. Abdullah, be honest. If Rowley decides to give the oil trade union the refinery now, will the population see a different turn when it comes to OWT fighting for PNM again?
Well, you want to be honest. First of all, the union's company has not been shortlisted in the latest bid round for the refinery. Okay, so that is purely a hypothetical question that does not arise. There were three companies. The Minister of Energy stated publicly, the Prime Minister stated publicly what those three companies are. I have the Minister of Finance's budget statement. Well, I'm using it to kind of prop up my camera to get the height.
Yeah, don't go for it.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to address
and therefore that question now does not arise. It's purely hypothetical.
David, I wanted to address one of those companies. There have been reports that Oando PLC, a Nigerian company who is not in the refining business, will be the preferred bidder. And that Oando PLC have been involved in corruption previously in Nigeria. And when we look at Petrojam, who have also been involved in corruption as well, it appears to me that the PNM government seem to like to be dealing with corrupted companies. I don't know. I'm just
so let me add one more. And people raise questions about those companies when they first were identified, yes? And you remember there was also the guy from India who came down and they wanted to insert him. Right, they wanted to insert him.
And there was also Hafed as well, where they wanted to do with agriculture. They were also involved in corruption. I know because I did editorial on all of those.
Great. And let me just say, you remember I mentioned 3 PowerPoint slides upon which the decision was made? You know which company produced those 3 PowerPoint slides? An American company called McKinsey.
Yeah, I know of McKinsey.
You know, they are one of the companies that has been found guilty of bribery and corruption in other parts of the world. Significant. Okay.
Another one?
Yeah, they're big in the dance. In fact, there was a report I saw recently on one of the because I get some articles coming out of the New York Times. So I think it came out of the New York Times, and it was Trump recently signed an executive order to limit or terminate one of the legal requirements with respect to U.S. companies that engage in corruption overseas, right? I don't know if you could find out the details. I don't have the exact details. And in this opinion piece, it was mentioned that two of the main companies, U.S. companies that had been fined, one was one of the big banking companies that was fined because of corruption out of Malaysia, I think it was. Which one of the U.S. banking companies, a big banking company, and they were fined a huge amount of money because they did something wrong in Malaysia, one of those five countries. And the other one they mentioned was McKinsey.
I'll definitely look into that. I'll definitely look into that. You know, so David, I listened to the Minister of Finance, and he had indicated that Petrotrin was one of the largest earners of Forex in Trinidad and Tobago, right? He had a discussion, right? And I'm asking myself the question, if you have a company who was the largest earner of Forex, why would you close that company? Why did you shut down that company?
Yeah, but I wouldn't say it was the largest earner of Forex.
One of the largest. It
was certainly one of the largest because you had like Atlantic and some of these people, huge amounts of LNG and so on. But it was one of the significant contributors to Forex, right? No doubt about that. And one of the problems with Forex now is because we are not earning any Forex coming out of the refinery, but on the other hand, but we are earning Forex with the sale of crude, right? However much crude Heritage is selling, 40,000 barrels of crude, but 40,000 barrels of crude would be less valued in US dollars than the amount of product that Petrotrin would have been selling. Now, of course, Petrotrin was also buying crude, right? So we have to look at the net figures, but there would still have been a net earning of foreign exchange. But Paria, by importing all the products into Trinidad, gasoline and aviation fuel and so on, is burning up foreign exchange, and that is one of the reasons why we are having difficulty with foreign exchange in the country right now, because Paria is getting foreign exchange. And I do have that document. It is recorded in one of the government reports. I don't have it in front of me, or how much Paria had to get from central bank or wherever in foreign exchange.
So now, David, instead of the company being a net earner, they are a net drainer.
Yes.
My word.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
So David, being that you are economist, if you have to give the current PNM government a grade, what grade will you give them?
A failing grade. And let me say that I was also a member appointed in 2015 to the Economic Development Advisory Board as an economist, right? Chaired by a much more eminent economist than me, Dr. Terence Farrell, former deputy governor of the central bank, and so on, right? And you had on that other persons, Dr. Marlene Atz, lecturer at UWI in economics, Professor Carl Theodore, professor emeritus at UWI. He taught me several economics courses. So of course you had many more eminent economists than me, Dr. Ronald Ramkisoon, people in the doctorates and so on. But I was a member of that Economic Development Advisory Board, and we were doing some very important work, particularly with respect to diversification of the economy, because we knew that unless we place emphasis on diversification, the problem would arise, sooner or later, but must, where foreign exchange earnings would be going down because oil and gas prices were going down, but our consumption of foreign exchange would remain high because of the nature of people wanting to buy online and whatever else, and therefore we would run into a foreign exchange crunch. And we had to get other sources of foreign exchange and or replace imported goods with local goods and services. And that was the work we were doing primarily. And the board became, it was not paid, we were not paid. was totally pro bono. Let me make that absolutely clear. We didn't even get, what do you call it, an honorarium. All we got was parking. We got a parking ticket, so we didn't have to pay for parking. We got free parking when we came to a meeting, yes. And we would have gotten coffee and tea. And if we had a working meeting through lunch, we would have gotten lunch, not a fancy lunch, a normal, simple lunch, right? That's all we got, because we thought we were making an important contribution to the country at a key moment. Dr. Rowley had just come in. To his credit, he establishes Economic Development Advisory Board. But he didn't take any advice of the board whatsoever. He didn't even acknowledge some of the correspondence that was sent to him on the confidential cover by the chairman, Dr. Terence Farrell. And so Dr. Farrell resigned, if I'm not mistaken, in 2017 or maybe early 2018. I can't, I'll have to double check. And we waited for the rest of us waited for about 6 weeks to see if a new chair would be appointed. We didn't hear anything, and so on. And so then I resigned. And then after I resigned, everybody else resigned. That was the end of the board.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
The PNM have, under Prime Minister Rowley, the PNM seem to have a policy of setting up these committees, and when they get the report, if the report is not pro what they want to get done, they put it in the disposable file. For example, look at the latest fire report. Nobody knows what's in that report right now.
Yeah.
Right? They got their report last month, and still that report is not public. Why is that report not for public consumption?
Yeah. And let me give you another example. The government set up with a lot of fanfare the National Advisory Committee on Constitutional Reform, chaired by former Speaker of the House, Mr. Barendra Sinanan. And many eminent people, same Dr. Terry Farrell, he was on it, Mr. Winston Rudder, former PS, Mrs. Helen Drayton, former HR person and a columnist in The Guardian, quite a few other eminent people, Mr. Ray Sandy from Tobago, former chief administrator in the Tobago House of Assembly, which is like the chief PS in the House of Assembly arrangement, and there were others, right? Mr. Nizam Mohammed, former Speaker of the House, attorney at law, and that kind of thing. So eminent people. And they worked hard. They went different parts of the country. They heard people make submissions. There were written submissions. I actually submitted a very detailed document to them from the MSJ. One or two of my members went to one of the meetings, I think in Point Forte. And so they did a lot of work and they submitted a report within a fairly short space of time. The Prime Minister promised when the committee was set up that following the report, there would be a 1 or 2 day national consultation where everybody could now contribute to what the committee had recommended and so on. And then that would be taken forward to Parliament, etc., etc. Did that happen? No. The committee submitted its report. The Prime Minister then called a convention of the PNM in Napa to discuss what the PNM had come up with, which was fine. But what the PNM came up with should have been submitted to the National Advisory Committee as an input, but they didn't do that. And the Prime Minister then dissed the proposal for any kind of proportional representation, and then announced that the coat of arms would be changed to incorporate the steel pan. And that has been the end of the conversation on constitutional reform.
You know, it is sad what, and in my estimation, David, Prime Minister Rowley, I'm putting this because a fish doesn't rotten from the tail. Prime Minister Rowley have compromised many of the independent institutions in Trinidad and Tobago. That's my opinion. You know, just from the things that I see, the Integrity Commission, you know, many things that you see where they're supposed to be independent, right? It's now like they're dependent on the PNM. That's just my opinion. You know, but David, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to come in and give us that information, and give us the information with facts, not fiction. So we hope that when this story comes out again about Petrotrin, people will stop with the rhetorics that Petrotrin wasn't making money, right? Because we could have had that refinery today, and we didn't have to go to Petrojam, you know, another organization that's involved in corruption, in order for us to do what we have to do. But also, David, just before you go, what do you have a take on Owando being the preferred bidder? Owando PLC. That's
No,
what
I
I
don't
heard.
have I don't have a take on it. We're waiting to see what the decision is, and we would demand, though, that there be full transparency about how the preferred bidder won the bid, what are the terms and conditions, and full disclosure about the ability of that company to do what it claims it can do, and full transparency with respect to the governance of that company. Yes. So those are the kinds of demands that we would make. Let me just make, I know time is probably out of time. Let me just make the point that in the industrial court, right, in the evidence I gave, I rebutted in totality that there was absolutely no threat of a downgrade by S&P or Moody's or Fitch. And I quoted from all of their reports, right? All of their investment reports, and from government's Minister of Finance's own statements, etc. There was absolutely no threat of a downgrade. And therefore, that was another absolutely false statement by the government, which in trying to justify the closure of Petrotrin. And it caused Senior Counsel Douglas Mendez, who was the attorney for the union, to say to Mr. Vishnu Dampal in cross-examination that it's very sad that he, having the position that he had as Permanent Secretary Ministry of Finance, would have misled both the Industrial Court and the Court of Appeal on this matter and on other matters, yes? And with respect to Petrojam, there was a report commissioned by the government, headed by one Mr. Christopher Zaka, who is currently the president and CEO of Sagicor Jamaica. This was done about 4 or 5 years ago. And it'd be good for people to be able to access that report about Petrojam. Just for full disclosure, I know Mr. Christopher Zaka because I was born and grew up in Jamaica. He's about 4 or 5 years younger than me, but he lived in Highgate in St. Mary, where my father was the Anglican parish priest in Highgate. And my parents started a prep school there called St. Cyprian's Prep School because the church was St. Cyprian's Church. And I was one of the first students at St. Cyprian's Prep School. We gave up half of our house, which was the Anglican rectory, to start the school. And Mr. Zaka attended St. Cyprian's Prep School. I think, but I'm not absolutely sure, it's my dad, but he wasn't absolutely confident about that. My mother would have remembered. But I have a feeling that my dad actually married Mr. Zaka's parents, Hope Zaka, who was a Haddad, I remember her, and I remember her father. I was a little boy, but I remember them, and so on. His father eventually became Chief Justice of Jamaica. So I just make that disclosure, but I haven't seen Christopher Zaka. I wouldn't recognize him. He would recognize me. I haven't seen him since, must be about 1964, 65 or something like that. So he did this study of Petrojam, and the Gleaner editorial of February the 1st of this year referred to that report. And you could Google the Gleaner editorial of February 1st of this year. I think it's first or second of this year. And they were quite scathing of Petrojam and the fact that Petrojam had not addressed, nor had the government of Jamaica addressed the assessment and recommendations of that Zaka inquiry. Zaka is spelled Z-A-C-C-A.
So I could Google that. What's the headline of the report? What's the headline of it?
I don't know what the headline of the report
What date it was again? What date it was?
The Gleaner editorial, the editorial in the Gleaner newspaper on either the 1st or 2nd of this year, just a few weeks ago. Excuse me.
2nd of February or January?
Of February, 1st or 2nd of February.
Okay. All right. I'll find it.
Yeah. And the editorial referred to the Zaka investigation.
You know, so David, I think you have shared some splendiferous information tonight, and you know, it is sad that we went down a road that we didn't have to, but I mean, it is what it is now, and we're going to see what the government is going to do, and if they're going to give, you know, the refinery to Owando PLC, who, on my understanding, has no refinery experience. but they have been involved in corruption, and we wait and see. So, any closing words before you go? By the way, David, I tried to
Yes.
get in contact with Anthony Paul, I sent him my email, but I never
Okay.
heard back from him.
All right. I will speak to him, and then I will get
And
his
pass
SA
on
to
my
send
number
you
to
his.
him.
Yeah, will do. And he could WhatsApp you. Yes, for sure. Yeah.
So
Um,
any closing words before you go?
Well, I really appreciate this conversation, and thank you for the opportunity to share information. Feel free to contact me anytime on any other issue.
Yes,
I'll be very happy
absolutely.
to share my thoughts. And when you said it was sad, what was equally or more even sadder was the impact on workers, their families, and communities that took a huge hit. You have retirees who were entitled under Petrotrain collective agreement to the medical treatment for themselves and their spouse, right? Workers had a medical plan for themselves and their family. All of that disappeared. And so where do they go? They have to go to the public health center and the public hospitals. Who's paying for that? Taxpayers. Whereas before, that would have been something that would have been part of the company's obligations to the workers. Contributory medical plan, yes, but so taxpayers have had to foot that bill. So you have thousands of people, thousands, because there are thousands of retired workers and their spouse, and then you have to add the workers who were currently employed in 2018. So thousands more people have been added to the public health care sector, putting pressure on that sector at a cost to taxpayers. Recreation grounds, the JP Smalls Velodrome down in Palo Seco, Guaracara Park, you name it. All those things are horrific condition, which were beneficial to communities, beneficial to our sports people, and so on. The football ground down in Forest Reserve, grounds, or more than one ground down in Forest Reserve. I could go on and on about the implications of this closure to the workers, their families, retired workers, their families, and to communities, fence line communities, and so on. Businesses that used to depend on Petrotrain to get contracts to do work. A lot of them had to lay off workers. Some of them closed down. So, yeah, huge loss all around. Sad, tragic. I call it a huge economic crime. That's what I call it. It was an economic crime.
Yeah, and that will be part of the Prime Minister's legacy.
Absolutely correct.
Yeah. So, David, we want to thank you so very kindly. And don't worry, you hear from me again.
Great. Thanks, Anthony.
Thank you, Brother Abdullah.
Thanks a million.
Thank you.
And thanks for all of the calls and questions. Some of the questions I couldn't answer, but no problem.
Okay.
Appreciate all the interaction. Take care.
Bye-bye.
And I enjoy the carnival for you guys.
All right.
Sorry to rub it in.
Okay. Take care.
All right. Okay.
All right. So, folks, there you have it. Reporter calling on. Reporter, the man gone. Reporter.
Yes, Wall Street, brother Tommy again, and to brother Abdullah, good night again. Yeah, Wall Street. You hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
So we're going to give Dr. Rowley them a hefty pension. They're going to get all the gratuity for all that destruction that was done into this country. I hope somebody who is a part of the opposition will listen tonight, because everything is going on. All this information was in the public domain already, and these leading media houses down here don't play that. Yeah. We can't afford to give this man no pension with this kind of damage. He and all his power players and them nothing for them by. Nothing for them Trinidad and Tobago, but you don't make sure they get nothing by. Everything is for the children by. Them wicked. You listen to what that man out there, right?
Yeah.
You listen.
And reporter, it's not like if he didn't have the documents to read from it, The man come with facts. You understand?
I don't know. I only hope that the law lords and them put
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I only hope these law lords and these people and them in this country put this whole political party to justice and take back everything from them. You can't close down Petrotrain like how you do that, right? And right now they still don't want to talk about the fake oil. People just feel the fake oil talk is fake talk. That was a real thing. All of that will come up stronger and stronger. I don't know wrong with these people and they have no pension for that man, by no pension, no gratuity, nothing at all. Nothing at all. You do too much of damage. At least place order callers. Stand
Yeah,
up
man.
now. Good night.
Thank you. You know, Tommy,
Yep.
I have to tell you, Tommy. I mean, after you hear that, Tommy, you could still, Patty and Gordon, Joseph and P&M Fox, and could still come and say Petrotrin was losing money.
No, but what's even worse? The mama guy, Patriot.
Yes, the mama guy them.
They were gonna give them the oil refinery to run when they decided that they were gonna run it.
Yep.
The mama guy them.
The mama guy them.
Man.
The mama guy them. But Tommy, I want the people to listen to this. Listen to this.
Don't get chained up, I beg of you. Do not get chained up by these pop-up parties. Remember, there's only one party is going to win this election, and that is the United National Congress.
On April 22nd, 1952, in the rural village of Siparia, Trinidad, a girl named Kamla was born into a family that valued education above all. Growing up as the great-granddaughter of an indentured laborer, she faced societal challenges that would shape her future. Her parents instilled in her the belief that education is the only passport out of poverty, a mantra that would guide her throughout her life. Fueled by education and a desire to make a difference, her early schooling laid a strong foundation, and her experiences studying in the United Kingdom opened her eyes to the realities of racial discrimination and social inequity. These challenges ignited her passion for justice and equality. Returning to Trinidad, Kamla dedicated herself to education, becoming one of the youngest university lecturers at the University of the West Indies. But her aspirations went beyond the classroom. With a Bachelor of Laws in hand, she entered the political arena in 1987 as an alderman for the National Alliance for Reconstruction. Driven by compassion, she advocated for women and children facing violence and poverty, committed to being their voice. Kamla's political journey reached new heights when she became the first female Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs in Trinidad and Tobago. On May 24, 2010, she made history again by becoming the first female Prime Minister, leading the coalition known as the People's Partnership to victory. Her leadership was marked by a dedication to uplifting her nation. She implemented transformative initiatives like universal secondary education, the Children's Life Fund for underprivileged youth, and a program providing laptops to every secondary school student. These initiatives not only changed lives but also reflected her unwavering commitment to education and social equity. Throughout her tenure, Kamla faced political opposition and economic challenges, yet her commitment to her vision for Trinidad and Tobago remained steadfast. After serving as Prime Minister until September 2015, she continued to play a vital role in politics as the leader of the opposition. Her resilience inspired many women across the Caribbean to pursue careers in politics and beyond, showing them that they too can make a significant impact. Kamla Persad Bisesar's story is one of breaking barriers and inspiring change. As a trailblazer in a predominantly male political landscape, she has become a symbol of empowerment and hope. Known affectionately as Auntie Kamla, she continues to advocate for social justice and equality, serving as a role model for future generations. Her journey from Siparia to the highest political office exemplifies determination and a commitment to making a difference. Kamla's story reminds us that with hard work, passion, and a desire to uplift others, we can all play a part in creating a better world.
Don't get chained up.
There you have it, Tommy. Caller, welcome.
Yeah, Professor Wall Street, I know you didn't have time today. I hope you could bring back Dr. Brother David again, because there's so many things that I was hoping that could have been answered. One of the questions I want to ask, and I wanted to make a statement, because as I told you and Uncle Tommy when you were in St. Lucia, the bank, the investment bank that I worked for, I was deeply intimated with the runnings of Petrotrin. Now, Brother David talked about those two bonds, that bullet payment of 9.75%. And I pointed out that 9.75%, actually, interest rates were much lower internationally from since 2001 because of the dot-com bust. So those guys who were in Petrotrin, who financed that one at 9.75, should have been held civilly liable, because Trinidad and Tobago is corporation sole. The Minister of Finance is corporation sole. So anybody who has any sense, any CFO, knows that that bond should have been guaranteed by the government of Trinidad and Tobago, and they should not have paid that 9.75%. That is number one. Number two, when the bullet payment was coming due, and the issue of that 850, which would have been about $7 billion that they had to pay, Rowley and Day, despite what Mr. Abdullah said, that they wanted a dispense of the union, they, which he pointed out, didn't have the money to pay it. But when they refinanced the bond, there's a principle, and I wanted to ask Mr. Abdullah this. There's a principle in law, civil and contract law, when you're doing covenants between bondholders, because that bond was refinanced, so the obligation is still on the books of TPHL. That bond was tied now to those assets, primarily Karakara and some of the fields. Now, Calm Imbut, I'm telling you this, Calm Imbut and Vishnu Dam Paul and Franklin Khan did not do their due diligence. Professor Wall Street, I'm a financial advisor for a European bank, independent. I don't practice much, but I have to pay E&O, that is errors of omission and commission. And what Mr. Abdullah pointed out is when Patriotic came with the 700 million from Citibank, Mr. Khan Imbut either willfully, because he either knew it, or he was negligent, which is an error of omission, caused that $700 million to go away. And as a result of that, that is when they were trying to sign up the deal, they realized that Trafigura, who was providing 500 million in working capital to Patriotic, wanted to be what is called under the term sheet. When you're doing bond, you have to have debt subordination. And the bondholders had what is called first right. And Trafigura wanted to replace them so they would be lower down the pecking order. And that's what created the deal to fall away. That is a principle, and I wanted to ask Mr. Abdullah, that is a principle why the union, Patriotic, has not presented a case of the breach of what is called detrimental reliance. That's in contract law. And that is because Carl Imbut and Vishnu Dam Paul, who is now overseeing this new Owando and Inca and all of them, don't know structured finance. And it's going to create problems for us. The last thing I want to point out, Uncle Tommy and Professor Wall Street, and I wanted to ask Dr. David this. When this deal goes through, it seems, why it is we are asking for, begging him to stop the deal. Why don't we demand through a petition, the opposition and the union should get together and say, let the people of Trinidad and Tobago decide at the plebiscite. Let the elections pass, and if the PNM wins, then they can go ahead with the sale of this, because, or if the UNC, they can make a decision, because here's what's going on. Do you know, Professor Wall Street and Uncle Tommy, that Beverly Khan, the office of the procurement regulator, does not have direct oversight on the sale of this asset? She only has what is called an advisory capacity. An advisory versus regulation is two different things. And as I'm saying, I am hoping, Uncle Tommy and Professor Wall Street, that we don't ask, we demand that they put an election first before you celebrate.
All right, let me take this next call. Yeah, man, bless.
Yes,
yeah, move a defender. Yo.
Uncle Tommy and Wall Street,
yeah.
Before you go, I want to change it. Sorry about that, but I need to bring this to your attention.
Yeah.
The pastor with the search engine name, right?
Yeah.
Keep going on public radio and saying Muniland never put in a defense.
That's not
Tonight
true.
on a public platform, Muniland said He put it in his defense since December. And this pastor keeps spreading misinformation over and over the radio every day about Munila never put in defense. I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Yeah, man. Bless. Reporter here. Yeah, folks, hold on. Reporter, hold on. Folks, put your closing. Caribbean Soul, thank you. Hold a minute. Reporter, turn on your computer. Folks, put your closing comments in the chat. Reporter, turn on your computer.
Yeah, turn it down. It's down.
Yeah, folks, put your closing comments in the chat and send your closing voice notes. Put your closing Caribbean Soul, thank you. That's how we just do it in here, you know. That's how we just do it. Go ahead, reporter. You have a minute.
Yes. Yeah, I make my own as a closing comment. I dare Mr. Gordon to get a resume like what you just played about Miss Kamala Prasad Sessa and play Dr. Rowley own or Stuart Young own. Play it. That's all I want to hear now. I go on. Good night.
Yeah, man. Bless. Tommy, boy, people want. Darren says the opposition leader did raise that issue about the sale of the refinery. Yeah, she raised it. As a matter of fact, she even raised it about the new one with this corrupted company, Oando PLC, you know, being the preferred bidder. Tommy, we just get with anything in Trinidad, you know. Huh? We just get with it.
The worst part of the equation is the Port Estate. They're supposed to be presenting the facts to the public.
Nah, I'm interested in that. Your matter. What facts? You mean the FAX, the facts? That's what I'm presenting. Not the rugged night. Yeah. What facts them presenting? I mean, you have to present no facts. And think about it, Tommy. I glad David come with the facts. But we should have all those facts much, much earlier. So, folks, we're going to go for a break. And when we come back, we're going to give our closing comments, our closing quotes. Stick and stays in the village with Uncle Tommy, Professor Wall Street, and you'll be right back.
You're listening to WZYE 95.9 FM. You are listening to WZYE LP 95.9 FM, the most influential name in Caribbean radio in the tri-state area. Broadcasting from East Orange, New Jersey, the most influential name in Caribbean radio, WZYE 95.9 FM.
Back with you. It's in the village with Uncle Tommy, Professor Wall Street, and you on WZYE 95.9 FM. We come to you every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday from 7 to 10 p.m. That's every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday from 7 to 10 p.m. Don't forget, folks, Shelly Live. KFC.
Hi, good night, Mr. What's with Uncle Tommy, man, all your viewers, man.
Good night, man.
Yeah, Mr. David, they said you all the facts.
Yeah, we got all the facts. We didn't put it on the facts.
You was with all the facts 9 years, 10 years.
Yeah, that fact should have been outside long time. Yeah.
We all have facts, and then drag no money. Can they keep us at a match and kind of thing, man?
Yeah. But nah, he's a good one.
I wanted to sell out. Them have you another special too. All them union doesn't have no.
Let me take this next one.
Yeah, well, tomorrow.
Yeah, man.
Sunday we meet again, right? Bless.
Yeah, man, bless. Caller, welcome.
Good night. Closing remarks.
Yes.
I am this is Mr. Karana. I'm
it's
on the activist council on the MSJ.
Yeah.
And people are talking about the facts. These facts was out there long time. I remember on a morning program in Mighty K and them, all this information was in the public domain. This is nothing new. Because they was even chastising these comments and making a mockery of the union and David. All this information was out there. I'm telling you that the MSJ does not hold back on information. This information was there all the time in the public domain. This last report was done so many years. These
on morning program. All this information was there. Some people know aware because they were not bringing it, but they wasn't paying attention. All this information was there, Uncle Tommy. Trust me, all this information was there. And Professor Welsh. So I don't know people thinking that this is news, this is fresh news. These things was there, man. These things was there. I can tell you that. Dr. Understand. Good night to everyone.
Yeah, man. Thanks a lot. Yeah. Full 100. You see, I ain't lying to you, Tommy. What I like about David Abdullah is that the man has come with his information. Yeah. And people, them PNM people now, who still want to talk ishness. Right? What they gonna say now? They're gonna make up some excuse now, some other excuse. Anyway, let me get my closing quote.
Did you do the top of the hour?
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
no,
sure
you didn't. No, you didn't.
Yeah, I did. I didn't do it?
No.
All right, okay, let me do that then. So, folks, let's go for this quick break.
You're listening to WZYE 95.9 FM. You are listening to WZYE 95.9 FM, the most influential name in Caribbean radio in the tri-state area. Broadcasting from East Orange, New Jersey, the most influential name in Caribbean radio, WZYE 95.9.
Yeah, Tommy, just before we go, let me see something here. I want to... Okay, where I put that, boy? I want to play something else here before we go. And this came from So 1 minute, folks. 1 minute. We got that. We got that. Did I put it in here? Okay. I want you guys to listen to this before we go. Listen to this.
This country needs saving from the morass in which we find ourselves. Now, is UNC a perfect party? By no means it is. But is UNC the best party to take this country into government and into progress? Yes, it is. And I make no apologies to anyone for being on a UNC ticket.
You may think this happened today. We've been, since last year, almost two years, we have been meeting, thrashing it out, working it out. So this is not a pop-up or I'm Johnny come lately or any of such things. We have been working together for almost 2 years, and we have come to the point where we are ready.
This country needs saving from the morass in which we find ourselves. Now, is UNC a perfect party? By no means it is. But is UNC the best party to take this country into government and into progress? Yes, it is. And I make no apologies to anyone for being on a UNC ticket.
You may think this happened today. We've been, since last year, almost two years, we have been meeting, thrashing it out, working it out. So this is not a pop-up or I'm Johnny come lately or any of such things. We have been working together for almost 2 years, and we have come to the point where we are ready.
Hear that, folks? My closing quote. Tommy, they've been working, boy. Working in the vineyard, boy. So, folks, my closing quote. I mean, my phone is full up. I want to say condolences again to Ken Bernard family on his passing. That's a good friend of mine.
Let's pray for this Thursday. Dear God, as the morning light breaks through the darkness, I come before you with a heart open to your guidance and strength. Lord, make me strong and courageous in the face of danger and challenges that lie ahead. Empower me with your Holy Spirit to stand firm in the midst of adversity, knowing that you are always by my side. Give me the courage to face this day with confidence, knowing that your strength is made perfect in my weakness. Help me to trust in your promises and to lean not on my own understanding. Grant me the wisdom to discern your will and the courage to follow where you lead. Protect me, Lord, from the snares of the enemy and the pitfalls of this world. Shield me with your mighty hand and lead me on the path of righteousness. May your presence go before me like a lamp, guiding my steps and lighting my way. Fill me with your peace that surpasses all understanding and banish all anxiety and doubt from my heart. As I journey through this day, may your presence be my refuge and your love my shield. May I walk in the confidence of your promises, knowing that you are faithful to fulfill all your purposes in my life. Father, I am deeply grateful for your unwavering love and your ever-present guidance. May your enduring strength and courage become my steadfast companions, guiding me through every moment of my life, both now and forevermore. In Jesus' name, I pray. Amen.
From where I sit, this is it. The clock on the wall said that's all I like to stay, but I've got to go. Remember, hard work beats talent when talent does not work hard. And for every 60 seconds of anger, you lose 1 minute of happiness. Remember, your circumstances may determine who you are, but you are responsible for who you become. Go ahead, Tommy.
I'd like to send our condolences to Professor Clyde Phillips on the loss of his son. Okay, my first quote. Part of being optimistic is keeping one's head pointed towards the sun, 1 feet moving forward. Like I always say, you, the man in the mirror, you have to become that change you want to see. However, if you look in that mirror and you don't like what you see, you cannot blame the mirror. Never look down on a person unless you're giving them a hand up. Love you all. Be safe. We'll see you on Sunday, God willing, on Let's Talk Politics. Good night.
Thank you, Tommy.
Thank you.
Let me go to the chat here. Miss Atlanta say, you may think the grass is greener on the other side, but if you take time to water your own grass, it will be just as green. Thank you, Miss Atlanta. Okay, you have another voice note here. Okay, just send another one. Miss Atlanta said, when you find no solution to a problem, it's probably not a problem to be solved, but rather a truth to be accepted.
Hi, good night to all. My closing comments. 2 years they've been working. 2 years they've been working on that. 9 years you've been in opposition. But 2 years you've been working at it. You see what the problem is? You see why that 9 could turn to 14? I wonder if somebody might say that is election gimmick. So we are doing the last 7 years. The last 7 years trying to defend stupidity. There are so many smart persons in that party. But no, they're fighting among themselves before they say, look, listen, let me do like what the PNM did. When the PNM went into opposition, they organized themselves, and the people see that, and the people say, okay, we will dirty the finger for you again. And then they realize it was good. And if it's nice, we'll do it twice. So they dirty it again. That's what we have to do when in opposition. Prepare for governance. Not be fighting one another. 2 years. And give me a cake. Good night, everybody. Pray. God answers prayer.
Okay, let me go over here. Caribbean so say why he didn't call and ask that question. He said, oh Lord, he did. Laugh out loud. Caribbean sources, as Heavy Duty said, don't be shocked if RP and them sell out our Scarlet Ibis. The bird probably not belong to us anymore. Mickey Ghost Rider says, Slimy has capitulated to the PNM and lost his soul. Okay. PNM Fox closing comment. Closing comment. OWTU's candidate for Point Fortin and Labra rejected by the people. Workers' Right 868, Clyde Elder and Ernesto Kiza. Okay. Tommy partner come in. Mean Jean Julian, closing comments. Wall Street, Uncle Tommy, one of the most interesting and informative interviews you have had on the program. I admire Mr. Mohammed for his honesty and transparency. I mean, Mr. Abdullah.
Abdullah.
Yeah, Abdullah. 7 years now, PNM support have been preaching restructured misinformation to feed in the public. Yeah, I mean, we are known for bringing people here with the facts. All right. Caribbean Soul closing comment. You can close your eye to things you don't want to see, but you can't close your heart to the things you don't want to feel. Hey, all right, boy, Caribbean Soul, boy. You come in, you're Caribbean Soul, you're raising the game, boy. You're raising the game, boy. All right, Tommy. We are out of here. See you guys on Sunday. Sunday talk. Let's talk politics on WZYE 95.9 FM. We bring you the facts, the whole facts, and nothing but the facts. And I'm gonna say again, I hope this could happen in Trinidad and Tobago again. I'm hoping, but I know it's going to be under the UNC.
Could we rise again as a nation?
What do you mean? Could we rise again as a nation?
Okay, because the state of the country.
What do you mean by the state of the country? I don't understand that. Explain me.
Right, the country have plenty money.
Plenty money?
Yeah.
How you know that? So you have to tell me I have a child. Tell me now. How you know that? Gentlemen, thank you for the day. I can't really understand that.
Oh, mama. Oh, mama. Oh, yo, yo, yo. My nation is giving prophecy unfolding, judgment in morning. I love you still, mommy.
When will it end? Tell me, how did we come this way?
Oh, my Trinidad and Tobago.
Whilst the nation still hope and pray, the devil busy, I say.
Oh, my Trinidad and Tobago.
Oh, no, no, I'm feeling the pain for you, mama. Revelation strikes at your corner. Still we are holding on. Your children have lost their way, fighting for survival each day. Oh, no, no, going from dawn till dawn. What is happening to my country? Every day is a sacrifice. Blood flowing like water daily. Lives could be lost at any price. The anthem is now a whisper. Some don't care to stand when it play. The lawless is now in control, so the good folks going away. Oh, my Trinity, strange signs all around we are. The hills are alive in a different way. Your babies are dying, brutally I'm seeing here. Would we rise again from what may? Yeah. Oh, the mighty dollar, now cast a spell of uncertainty.
Oh, my Trinidad and Tobago.
You see, when the rich is getting richer, the poor must remain empty.
Oh, my Trinidad.
Know that error.
And Tobago.
I say, oh no, no, people falling for pain and hunger, inflation, cost of living higher. Can't get no daily bread. So the youth them on top the hill, somehow their bread basket don't fill. Oh no, no, so they turn to crime instead. The arms of the state disappointed, still their salaries are daunted. Large increase in the fiscal budget, oil money reach a all-time high. You buy no jet for so much of money when the hospitals are in need. Poor people at everyone's mercy, so the hill reacting indeed. Oh no 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 no, yeah the people cry, yeah. The hills are alive in a different way. Them who take in we money must pay for it daily one day. Could we rise again come what may? Yeah. How could we truly excel in the midst of all this suffering? Oh my Trinidad. No. Tell me, like Shadow said, poverty is hell. So it seems like the devil is king. Oh my Trinidad. No. Cocaine and guns in the heart of the ghetto is what we sow, we shall reap tomorrow. Who are we going to blame? Even school children doing crime, well, that is a sign of the time. Oh, my Lord, have we now gone insane? Whilst we kill, we own one by one. Skyscrapers going up in town. Chinese laborers at the core. This new city some shall see no more. So we have to hold on to CPEP 10 days and must to get along. Scraping the bottom of the barrel with all this money in town. My Lord, the hills are alive in a different way. Have to do more for the people, better wages to ease we struggle, yeah. Could we rise again come what may, yeah. In this abundance of wealth, still the poor people cannot cope. Oh my Trinidad and Tobago, it is a stark reality. So much of even a hope. Oh my Trinidad and Tobago. Oh my, oh no. Some turn to vagrants in the city. Homeless children begging have mercy, Lord. Child abuse have risen again. Look like Jean and Dinah come back in town. The girls and them singing the song. To survive by any means necessary, dignity gone down the drain. Some say the leaders have failed to do right for one and for all. When there is an imbalance of the scale, then the writing is on the wall. If you ignore the plight of the people, well, the devil shall intervene. It's only divine intervention. I hope you know what I mean. Well, is it true that God is a Trinity with all these crimes in sweet La Trinity? No. The hills are alive in a different way.
Population gone, gun control, jail control.
And is it true we have all this money in this land of so much poverty? No. The Lord is my shepherd, come what may, yeah. To you the powers that be, hear the cries of the people you see. All this wealth and nothing for we. No. Because of living is too high. This little money the poor can't buy. Oh my, why? There must be a way. To help the people today, I say, there must be a way. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done. From Genesis to Revelation, in my Father's house there are many mansions. To take care of 1.3 million natural resources, he made provision to feed this nation. Look, we have oil and gas, rich lake and Mars, and Calypso, Choppy and Limbo. Yeah. When there is no poverty, crime would decline naturally. Then we could live in harmony. My holy La Trinity, yeah. I love you, mama. I love you, mommy, yeah.
Trinidad.